Oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, honey? It is your favorite host, Consciouztv, honey. Happy Firework Day. People are blowing up the goddamn city, honey. Even the goddamn nice, rich, safe part of town, girl, is being destroyed right now, girl. There are like bombs dropping every fucking where around me. But it's okay, because I'd rather people be shooting into the air than to be shooting one another. Okay. I am going to be getting into some things, honey. Okay, I am tired as hell. And I was laying around pooching, honey. Laying around minding my business and Kwame's too, honey. Okay, because his little conversation with Miss Angela Stanton showed up on my homepage. So I said, girl, do I really want to listen to this? Because I literally pays Miss Angela Stankin dust, honey. Like, she is somebody I am not interested in any kind of way. She literally gives me like 1999 junior high hotel princess. And my brain is just like graduated beyond like the elementary GED logic of really brainwashed, uninformed as Negroes. So, against my better judgment, girl, I decided to just take a peek anyway, honey. And I decided to bypass Judge Joe Brown's portion because I'm going to be getting off into his asshole tomorrow night, okay? Because Kwame also interviewed him. And then after he left, Miss Angela Stankin was so thirsty for attention, honey. Of course, she was in the comment section, popping her pussy hard to get Kwame's, attention, honey. And then he brought her on with, her leave out standing up off her head and shit. She didn't, she hadn't blended too well, honey. She was looking like a unkept Republican black woman, honey, who was really having a hard time these days. Yes, that's what she was giving. But, he took notice and gave her a platform. So she got Judge Joe Brown's leftover interview with Kwame. She got the leftover energy from Kwame, the same way that she got, the leftover attention of Donald Trump, who apparently promised her, hundreds of thousands and hundreds of thousands of fucking dollars that she's still waiting on, who apparently gave her the leftovers of the Republican conventional, whatever you call that shit, the DNC, the RNC, the Republican National Convention, which I don't believe Miss Angela had a part in. I don't recall her evil stepsister, Miss Candace Owens, having a part in the Republican National Convention either. I don't remember any of these bootleggers, like they never have any relevant part in white supremacy. They're just always hanging on to Massa's asshole for dear life for any little bit of piece of bacon and hallmark that he throws at their dusty asses, okay? And no matter how much Massa leaves them, forsakes them, abandons them, disposes of them, dismisses them, okay? These motherfucking bootlickers just think that Massa's asshole is better than the hygienic hug of their own people, honey. They would prefer Massa's funk any day over their own people's beauty and brilliance, honey. Okay? They're just in the sunken place, honey. So the Omarosas and the Candace Owens and the Angela Stankins and their male coon counterparts, I just can't deal these days. But we've already spent way too much on this intro, girl. Let me run this commercial. Let me run this intro, girl, so we can get into some teams and take our asses on to the glory. Okay. I didn't even pull up my intro, child. I ain't even pull it up.
I know a place where you can recharge your soul.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
And in the midst of brokenness, he gon' see your asshole.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
You gon' heal, you gon' laugh and catch a little shade.
Ooh, girl.
Y'all know he be slaying, y'all better stop playing. Come hear what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, welcome back. Hey guys, let me speak to the chat. Happy firework day to I am back. Hi, what's going on, Mod? Say classy. Hey Oz. Hey K Shay. No worries, we love you. I love y'all too. Hi Jackie. What's going on, King Buddha? What's going on, Boo? Hey Distant Lover. Hey D Square. What's going on, Fat Girl Freestyle? Hey K Dixon. So let's get into it, girl. Well, before we get into it, we got church announcements for one. 2 men and a lady. My co-host Wiley and Katie 101, Katie Talk 101 will be loud, live, and in color tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Check us out, honey. We're gonna be talking our shit over on the Wiley Show. We also, I never got to speak about this, but I also had and joined a panel last week on Olivia Speaks platform. I had posted it to my community feed. She asked me to come up when she was doing a review for Tariq Nasheed's Buck Breaking documentary, which was historically inaccurate. Okay. But that's another story for another day. Nonetheless, that ended up being a 5-hour long discussion between me, Miss Olivia, and 3 other cis hetero black men. A lot of people got their entire life off of that panel. A lot of people got their entire life. I have received so many DMs, so many messages, so many emails, so many text messages about that panel and about my performance. And I'm glad you guys feel well about it and that you guys loved it. Heterosexual folk and queer folk just appreciated the entire discussion because you rarely get to see queer black people and queer cis hetero people, especially cis hetero black men, be in the same room, not talking at each other, but being able to talk to each other. So I want to shout out Miss Olivia for facilitating that, for asking me to come up. I had no idea it would turn into what it turned into, but it was really, really, really good. And I hope that we can continue on in the spirit of being a community, because contrary to popular belief, aka Miss Angela Stanton, you know, queer blackness is still blackness. And sorry, the queer race produces queer people, always have, always will. Stop taking your talking points and your education from Facebook memes, Miss Angela Stankin, and actually get your ass in history books. You got enough stolen racketeering coin, girl, to take at least a trip to Africa on Spirit Airlines and talk to Africa, girl, about all of the pre-existence of LGBT folk in Africa, pre-colonialism, pre-colonization, girl. Like a library card don't cost you nothing, Miss Ma'am. If you know how to break the damn law and do white collar crimes, then you damn sure know how to take a book off the shelf, sit down in the lobby of the library, have you a coffee, a mocha, some sugar, and a biscuit, and then start reading the damn pages, just like you had to read the damn deposition paperwork of them goddamn plea deals your ass made to get in and out of goddamn prison. So I know ain't nothing wrong with your damn comprehension skill, girl. You just got selective memory. But I told myself that I wasn't gonna come on this bitch and drag your motherfucking ass, because you got a trans daughter, honey, named JB, and I don't want to drag JB's motherfucking mama out here in these streets. So let me calm down. But you just need to read a little bit, girl. Okay? Okay? Now, hey, Ace Way, what's going on? What's going on, Elijah? So, girl, before we get into the thick of it, girl, because I always say I ain't coming over here to raise hair, girl, then I end up raising all the hell in the world. But, what's going on, Travis? I'm going to post the panel in the community feed again so you guys can check it out. I also want to just talk a little bit about my weekend, honey, because yesterday I was getting tatted the fuck up, honey. Y'all guys know I got like a tattoo spirit on me, girl. Miss Angela Stanton probably would say I need to be delivered and rebuked, child. But let me share this screen here. Okay, I was in a tattoo shop getting my life, honey. Okay. Here we go again. Okay, so here I got all this work done, honey. Okay, we had to go back in yesterday and color all this in and create the wind effect, and we're gonna bring it all the way down, honey. This is gonna be a old nasty piece of shoulder piece, honey. This old nastiness, girl. So the multicolored butterflies, I love it. It represents life, transmutation, and ironically, with me being a part, with my intersection being queer, the multicoloredness could also be like a creative way to represent, you know, the LGBT spectrum too. But I love it. You guys know I got my Jesus piece done, honey. My hippie, new agey, me and Jesus are one piece here. He almost healed up, honey. So I'll be going back to get all that colored in too. So this is gonna be an old nasty left part of my body here, baby. This drench, honey. This nasty and inked up and grungy and just punk rock, honey. This just looking like a sinner, girl. Okay, you guys know my personal style is look like the world, but actually exist and walk in the love of God. Okay, now, girl. This motherfucker right here, y'all see all this shit here? Girl, I wanted to get my damn hand blacked out, right? Because I think it'll make my mandala symbol pop if I accent it with this blowout here, which was supposed to extend like right past the knuckles area. Like all this up in here is going to be black. All this right here. I'm going to bring all this darkness, all this blackness down here, all across here, like right before my rings start, basically, honey. I'm gonna black all that out. Girl, this is about as much as a bitch could take, girl. I felt like when he was tattooing this shit, girl, I felt like I was getting fucked in my ass with no lube, girl. And I'm talking literally, bitch. When he put the needle to my damn hand, girl, I felt my asshole plunge open in the chair, bitch. I literally went into a goddamn psychotic fit. But you ever experienced physical pain that is so goddamn harsh, so goddamn surreal, so goddamn agonizing and excruciating, girl, that it literally turns you into a fucking psychopath? Bitch, I wanted to September 11th, the motherfucking tattoo shop, bitch. Like, and I tried to muster, I tried to push through, bitch. But this was about as much as I could do. And I ain't had no more numbing cream left, girl. So I was raw dogging this shit, bitch. So I like it though. Like, it's cute and everything. And I'ma definitely go back and get it done and get it finished, girl. But I'ma make sure that the bitch have on 2 tubes of numbing cream, bitch. Okay? And then we gonna have at it, girl, because I'm with the shits, girl. But nothing could have prepared me, girl. I thought I was gonna sit up in the tattoo shop for 4 hours, girl, get them butterflies put on me, and then try to get away with getting another part of my goddamn body tattoo, girl. It was a no-go. It was a no-go, girl. And I ain't trying to shake and shook nobody who thinking about getting tattoos and you already traumatized and scared of what you're gonna be getting, girl. All I'm gonna say is, bitch, get a tattoo anywhere else but your hand, girl. You got to be a real G. Like, you had to for real be on like hardcore welfare, girl, to endure getting your fucking hand tattoo, girl. If any nigga got his hand tattooed, girl, that nigga done experienced severe poverty. That's why he has the goddamn capacity, girl, to endure that level of a physical pain. If you got privilege anywhere in your life, girl, if you grew up with AC, you can't take no hand tattoo, girl. If you grew up with being able to wear nice dresses and had nice shoes to wear to school, bitch, you can't take no hand tattoo, girl. Anybody who got their motherfucking hand tattoo is a bitch whose toes and feet were poking through the damn shoes, girl. Poking through the damn shoes, bitch. Period. Any bitch who got their hand tattooed, girl, come from the whole entire struggle. Okay? Don't make no mistakes about it. T. Trisha going to have a great time. I'm exhausted. Okay, boo. Good night, baby mama. Good night, Maud. My Maud is out, honey. She says she is through. So, yeah, girl, all of this tea, honey. So this is what we was doing yesterday, girl. I was just getting this work, girl. And we got a lot more canvas to cover. Okay. So, off with that, girl. Let's move along. So, I'm in here recovering, okay? My hand is sore as hell. It's feeling better. It was like kind of swole, girl. It was like, even the aftermath was probably worse than the actual tattoo processing, girl. It was just a mess. Anyway, so I was laying here having a wonderful day, just cruising and poozing, and I came upon our favorite YouTuber, honey. No other girl than Mr. Kwame Brown, honey. Now, y'all know, I think I done caught on to Kwame's. I think I done caught on to his tactics, girl. I think Kwame found a clever strategy. I think Kwame decided, I'm not going to get canceled. What I'm going to do instead is have people who everybody want to cancel on my show. And then I'm going to let them say all the shit that I'm not going to sabotage my bag by saying. And then I'm going to stay kind of neutral on the subject so that nobody can ever really figure out whether I'm coming or whether I'm going. And Kwame is real clever. It's real clever, sir, okay? I think I done caught on to what you're doing, okay? Because it's working. Nigga, it's working, nigga. Okay? Because I can't put my finger on you yet. I know what I feel in my intuition. See, deep down, I feel like you're really a nice guy. But, baby, you be trying it, Kwame. You be trying it with the shit you be doing. And see, before we get into this Angela Stankin conversation, you know, what I would love, you know what? If you wanna, if you really cool on the LGBT, because you doing this back-to-back anti-queer shit, you done had Judge Joe Brown, crusty foot ass up there talking shit about the damn gay agenda and real men and not real men and all this shit with his old funky ass. Then you brought Angela Stankin's dried up edges, leave out, standing to the glory of God having ass on there. Okay, just to add insult to injury. So, since you cool with the community, right? Since you cool, I want you to bring a really intelligent, informed, black, queer person on your platform, okay? Because you can't say you cool with everybody and no disrespect. And you also said in this interview that you need to be educated. So why not then treat yourself to a queer teacher who can talk about blackness and the intersection of sexuality, who can keep up with all parts of a conversation, whether it is a conversation about sexuality and gender, or whether it's a conversation about systemic oppression, white supremacy. Like, don't bring no damn Jason Lee on the damn channel, somebody who gonna embarrass us. Don't be bringing no damn don't bring no fool on the damn platform. Let them cut up and then say, see y'all, I do like queer folk. Because I had a clown from the community. I had the clowns on the community. Don't do that to us. Bring up somebody who is off the chain, rocks the mic, and leaves a lipstick stain behind, who can talk sense, who is intellectual, who can really represent and put that or those black queer people up next to these so-called black straight intellectuals and progressives or Republicans or etc. Like, let's really even the playing field. Cocaine Kale says, don't let Kwame fool you. His first cousin full LGBT who he said used to live with Kwame. Kwame knows exactly about this. Okay, but that don't mean shit. A cocaine. Plenty of motherfuckers. Our own black folk got queer people in the family and homophobic as hell, transphobic as hell, or gay friendly, but still don't understand the intersection, still don't understand the queer experience, still don't understand how that relates to transphobia or homophobia. Like, having proximity to a person does not equate in any damn way to an education or any particular insight. All it means is that he got a cousin who he loves who also happens to be LGBT. That don't mean he knows anything beyond that, because out of his own mouth, he needs to be damn educated. I got people in my damn family who done known me since I done been 0 damn years old and don't know shit about queerness, who still Bible thump, who still hold antiquated, outdated ass ideas about queerness, about homosexuality, about transgenderism. So proximity does not equate to, and I wish that it did, cocaine. I wish that proximity just defaulted to education and intel, but unfortunately, it motherfucking don't. Yes, everybody, please hit the like button. Well, ain't you gonna break it down? Hey, Blessed in Book, what's going on? But his first cousin has schooled him. He said it himself. Well, Kwame, but see, that's what I'm talking about. Kwame be talking out of both sides of his mouth. But maybe, but ain't no telling who. Look, shit, let's press the gas, cocaine. It's queer people who can't even articulate their fucking experience. You got some queer people who are just as dangerous to the LGBT community as motherfucking as some cis hetero folk are. Like, you got a lot of bootlicking, tap dancing, ignorant ass LGBT folk who cannot have a informative, comprehensive dialogue about their experience and the nuance of their experience. I have witnessed queer people attempt to explain queer politeness. I have watched debates my whole life of queer people trying to go up against pastors, trying to do open debates with Hotep, and have went down in a blaze of glory. Not because the queer person is dumb, but usually queer people themselves a lot of times don't have the language. They don't have the capacity and the gift of speaking and teaching and effectively communicating information. They have not sat deep enough and took a level of observation in their own walk in reality to even understand, like, where the issues around the oppression and the violence of queer people stem from, all the things that lead to that, whether it be religiosity, whether it be cis hetero privilege, being powerful enough in numbers to create the rules in a way that leave queer people out of any of these intersections, like the power dynamics in the world, the self-hate that a lot of queer people suffer from, because we're going to get into this issue of, like, what you do in the bedroom is your business, and why does everybody need to know? You know, and let me trade off Kwame's picture for Miss Angela Stanton. We don't care about your experience. The public is saying y'all doing too much. We don't give a fuck about what the public is doing, Uranus, because the same fucking public was also lynching and mobbing black fucking people. The same fucking public is in complete support of rape fucking culture and all of the fucking misogynistic female and all of the violence toward women in fucking music and black media. The same, like, the public is stupid. We don't give a fuck about the public. The public was 2,000 years ago, the fucking public was stoning motherfuckers across seas for being sinners. like history bears out that the majority participated in some of the most inhumane behavior, the inquisitions of the church, the dark ages of the fucking church, the lynching of black people, genocide to the Native Americans, genocide to Jewish people, the fucking Holocaust. So what does it, what the fuck does it make? I don't give a fuck what the public thinks. The public ain't fucking rational. The public will sign off on shit that's even detrimental to them fucking selves. So I don't really give a damn about what the fuck the public think. Storm Chaser says, Conscious, do you have a running theory on why that male YouTuber Apocalypse, aka Blue Phoenix Rising, is obsessed with harassing trans? So I don't even know who the fuck Apocalypse is and Blue Phoenix and who. I don't know anything about that. I don't even know. But we can speak to maybe some of the self-hate in the community, but I don't know anything about that situation or who those folk is. Cocaine says, I'm not in the LGBT community, however, I would like to be able to understand it better for a lot of reasons. And that's amazing that you even are interested, Cocaine. I wish more cis hetero folk would just be interested and ask questions, okay? Instead of allowing Angela Stanton and Judge Joe Brown to continue to spew all of their shit, but never allow queer people to have the same platform to be able to also counter those things and challenge those things and give the public a real opportunity to make decisions based upon the perspective from both parties, rather than, and see, this is what heterosexual privilege is. Heterosexual folks get to control the motherfucking narrative all the time. This is why queer people and trans people are in trouble now, because religion was used to inform the masses about gender and sexuality. This is why you got the persecution of queer people going on in Africa, and some of the worst persecutions. Like they used to be, like, before they did a big sweep on the internet, there used to be so many fucking videos coming up out of Africa alone. Okay, now that Africa has been colonized, of Africans setting homosexual, lesbian, transgender Africans on fire, and mobs of people sitting around watching queer people burn to ashes. Okay, I'm talking about like Old Testament violence. Like, there was videos of fucking African mobs literally trying to break into a fucking public, like into a mall. They had to damn near call the fucking military in to protect one trans person. I mean, one queer person from hundreds and hundreds of African people in Africa trying to kill this person. Like, all of the fucking hate crimes in America alone against queer people, and queer people are in trouble because queer people never could control their own narrative. The majority, who's represented as straight folk, got to control the narrative, got to demonize queer people, got to leave queer people out of God, leave queer people out of Christianity, leave queer people out of the social norms that have heterosexuality in mind and heteronormative behavior in mind. Because didn't we all grow up watching straight cartoons? Didn't we grow up watching Bugs Bunny with his heart beating out of his chest and his tail wagging to incite that he was also sexually charged? He's fucking levitating, gyrating, floating up off the goddamn ground because Mrs. Bunny is so hot and is in heat. And he's in heat. And we didn't not only did we not protest the covert sexuality displayed in what is supposed to be children's content, but also all of those displays of sexuality from Jasmine and Aladdin to Beauty and the Beast to Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse were all demonstrations of cisgenderedness and heterosexuality. All of that. We grew up in that world where all we saw was heteronormative behavior. Queer people lived in this country up until now with being explicitly removed from any level of representation because we were never in the equation. We were never going to be counted for. If queer people had not a bust down the fucking doors, started standing up for themselves, started challenging the fucking system, Hold on. And challenging the system, etc. Like if queer people had never did that, we would still be living in the caveman era of America. We would still be, you know. We had to get this shit popping. And we did. So I wrote down some notes. And if you guys have any questions, we can definitely, you know, talk about anything regarding this topic. Hey, Andrea, what's going on? Breaking the culture of silence. Hey, Phyllis. Hey, Miss Candy. Hey, lovely Shambu. And, oh, I'm supposed to bring up Angela Stankin ass. Hold on. Let me bring Miss Mamas up, honey. Let me bring her up, girl. Yes, this is her. Hold on, let me take this shit down. Is this Ayo? Hey, Ayo, what's going on? Lovely. So this is Miss Angela Stankin, honey. I ain't about to go in. Now, let me just say this, girl. Girl, I really did. Literally, I was on a panel, the Yes God Roundtable discussion, girl, and she was on the docket, girl. And I just can't do Angela Stankin, honey. She just, you know, some people you just leave alone. You know, you ever got that crazy person in your family, girl, that you know, like y'all just leave them to their corner. Like that's Angela Stankin for me, girl. It's just like, it's so much that it's just easier to just leave it alone, girl. Leave it alone, honey. Cocaine says, I wonder why Kwame asked Angela what fisting was. Did anyone hear that? I heard that, so I'm like, Kwame, you 6'5" million tall, probably with a 6'7" million tall penis. Ain't no way in all the groupie love you ain't getting to some freakish. Now I think Kwame know what fisting is. He just didn't know what the technical term for it was. I'm sure that all the groupie love Kwame has received, that plenty of women didn't allow him to do all type of things, and he ain't know what it was called, but he was doing it, okay? Because when she explained it to him and said, I got a fist, and they were talking in the context of sex, he said, oh, and he leaned back. He probably said, oh, because he was thinking about all the good pussy that his fist and fingers done seen. I'm sure if he hasn't officially fisted a woman, that he done been able to put damn near fist in her. I watch straight porn, honey. I know niggas like to get up in some cooch. I know niggas like to play with the clitoris. And like to stick one finger in, 2 finger in, 3 finger in, 4 finger in. Can we do a fist? You with it? Is pussy with it? Huh? We got enough lube and spit for the gyrations and nasty men of it all, huh? Okay, I be seeing niggas trying it, honey, on the pussy. I be seeing them trying it, girl. So, yeah, that was very interesting, okay? Cocaine says, honey, I think he knows what it means very much so. I had to quit listening like nails on a chalk. Baby, hey, She Diaries, I can't either. I thought she disappeared after she lost her. No, baby. Angela Stankin is a superhuman coon, honey, okay? Y'all know coons have the immortality of Jason Voorhees, honey. If there's any motherfucking body who's got a energized goddamn battery in a backpack, honey, if there's anybody who's going the long haul, girl, it's definitely the bootlickers. Just like if anybody gonna live forever, it's the miserable. Because internalized self-hate will keep your ass alive forever, and it'll keep you hating forever. Okay? Self-hate will keep you a hating ass Negro. It's long-lasting. If any of you trying to figure out how you can make it to 100 years old, just become bitter. Just become bitter. See, all the good people get the hell up out of here, okay? They don't give a damn whether it's a plane crash, a car crash, or being killed by a drunk driver, bitch. Good people gonna get the fuck up out of here, baby. We come for a short time, not for a long time, girl. We come to complete the mission and return back home. Miserable folk become so goddamn dense and heavy in energy, girl, that they just are bound to the damn earth plane, girl, okay? Them hoes done been hit by a bus, done had open heart surgery, done had they goddamn hair replacement treatment, done lost a fucking eye, then ended up in a wheelchair, got a peg leg, and still holding on to 97 strong. Peg leg Betty, holding on, bitch. So if you want to live forever, just be miserable. What's going on, Whoa? I think I'm just seeing you in the first time here. Hey, Wody Mac. When I was first introduced to Angela about 2 to 3 years ago, I was hoping she would have won her political race. She was not in line with the usual American mindset. Now, that's what I can give the girl. I mean, hey, she going against the grain. Going against the grain for all the wrong reasons. And a lot of it is built on ignorance. But, you know, I think in a way she knows what she's doing. Angela Stanton reminds me of those pastors who really don't have a sermon. They really don't have a natural anointing. So they rely heavily upon like homosexual rhetoric to get an amen. Because every time that I see Angela Stanton, she is like very performative. And she definitely, you know, did her job in this interview with Kwame, honey, and was just doing the most, honey. I mean, I thought the bitch thought she was running for Oval Office. I mean, Angela Stanton is still trying to, like, she does every interview as a politician who is looking for a vote. And all of her talking points are interesting to me because she has hotep talking points. And this is why hoteps always end up garnering a big audience for themselves as well. Look at Polite. Look at Dr. Umar. Look at Young Pharaoh, okay? These people know where Black people's ignorances are, their lack of education are. They know where Black people's biases and prejudices are, and they rely upon those things in order to appeal to Black support. And Black people have to be very fucking careful, but this is also the disadvantage you leave yourself in when you dumb as fuck and you ignorant. You're ignorant on the way the system works. You're ignorant on the way intersection works. You're ignorant about your own fucking history, your own fucking people, and that allows for people to prey upon your naivety, prey upon your ignorance, prey upon your erroneous ideas that you hold about the world, and then before you know it, you're supporting all of these so-called pro-Black folk with all these great pro-Black talking points who still ain't did shit for nobody. Because just like Umar, just like Young Pharaoh, just like Polite, and just like not Candace Owens, but Angela Stanton, yeah, and Candace Owens, what have all these folks did for any Black person other than themselves? Nothing. What though Young Pharaoh, Polite, Dr. Umar Johnson, Angela Stanton, Candace Owens, what's the other one name? Who was kicked out of the Trump administration? What's her name? What's her name? The other Miss Mamas, honey. Okay, what do they all have in common? Haven't did shit for nobody. These niggas made it. And they use you so that they can keep on individually making it while continuing to talk all that strong arm Black rhetoric shit about, yeah, trans women are replacing y'all Black women so they can gaslit y'all, honey. Yeah, Black men, queer men, girl, are replacing y'all and beating y'all in the race so they can Bluetooth into y'all asses. Oh, the Democratic Party, blah, blah, blah. And I agree with them on that. Not only is the Democratic Party not shit, none of the parties are shit. All the parties are shit. But all that these pro-Black folk are a bunch of fucking narcissists who study Black culture and build upon what you don't know so that they can utilize it and amplify themselves while keep instilling hope in you and your faith in them to make a difference for the collective. But all you see them keep coming on stream doing is living in big houses and wearing big pyramid chains and sitting up there in the fucking White House as the only token Negro in these fucking spaces while talking to your black ass about blackness. While these same fucking black niggas like Young Pharaoh talk all that black shit and then move his black ass up out the fucking hood. Because you love black folks so much, baby. Since black people ain't the problem, honey. These pilgrims is, girl. Be the first motherfuckers out of the hood. Oh, yes. That's what they do, honey. You better wake up like Miss Angela Stankin said, baby. Wake up, black folk. Okay, because Kwame said that Miss Angela is a breath of fresh air. So I'm gonna have to question Kwame's ability to smell, baby, because I don't think that is fresh. But we'll get into it. Now, yeah, Omarosa, that heifer. Uh-oh, Conscious, you talking down another new NBA YouTuber's lane with rhetoric. I ain't doing shit because I love Kwame, and Kwame is a public figure. I'm subscribed to his platform. He done been over here. He the one holding these motherfucking interviews. I get to talk about him holding these interviews. I get to talk about what I see, and I'm very much so open to also being educated because over here we ask questions, just like in my last video. I said, Kwame, when you get an opportunity, can you please clear up your politics about the LGBT community, because some of us are like very confused. Okay, even now I'm holding on to dear life, but this is motherfucking YouTube, and anybody can get dragged, and anybody can get critiqued, and anybody can get called to the carpet. Okay, and I've still been rather nice about Kwame, because see, I can't completely drag him yet because I don't know. Really, I don't know enough to drag him, so I gotta drag these folk he have on his platform, like Miss Stankin and Miss Judge Joe Doodle Brown, honey. Okay, because girl, I'm listening closely now, girl, for Kwame's critiques, honey. Okay, I want to know them politics, so I can know what to give. Truth Spoken says allegedly Kwame hooked up. Whoop. That girl. I don't know nothing about it. Okay. I don't know nothing about it, baby. All right, in the air, you go ahead and slide on out, sugar. I adore Kwame till that mega sips out. Okay, now Angela Stanton, honey. Get to her. So Angela Stanton comes on, girl. AC not working. She ain't got nothing but a goddamn apple in the refrigerator, honey. She tired. She pressed. She mad as hell because every other black person ain't trying to hold on to white supremacy for dear life. So she comes on yipping and goddamn yapping. And she talks about quite a few things, from abortion to the LGBT community, to the Democratic Party, to masculinity, toxic masculinity. It's a lot going on. Okay. It's a lot going on. So first thing that I want to talk about is Angela Stanton talking about Black Lives Matter so much that she's against abortion. She's against particularly the abortion of black babies. Okay? Black babies that the Democratic Party provides health insurance to abort. So here's the thing, right? I do not think abortion is the solution to any problem. But you guys know what we do over here, honey. Okay? We look at the systems and not the victims of the system. Because we will sit here, Angela Stankin included, and say, don't abort black babies. Have black babies and have black babies and have black babies. And this is the way that heterosexuality has really operated since Adam and Eve, girl, which was apparently heterosexual people think that their only job is just fucking and reproducing. And the reason why the fucking world is upside down and fucked up and marginalized and disenfranchised and all hell is fucking breaking loose and the world is going to hell in a handbasket is because all the fuck that's been going on is fucking and reproducing, and nobody thought further about the conditions in which we were bringing life into. So we can't just, you know, like what Angela Stanton and a lot of hotel princesses do and princes do is they like throw out Bible verses, but they forsake the context. Like on the surface, the shit they say gaslights you, gets you emotionally plugged in, and you're like, yes, yes, yes. But then after you get past that initial reaction, you're like, wait, bitch, there's like a whole lot of shit missing from behind that statement, because we can't just shame women who choose abortion without also talking about the seriousness of the disparity that oftentimes leads to abortion. Like, we can't forget the poverty that motivates abortion. We can't forget and forsake the sexual assault and the trauma around how the child was conceived, through incest, through sexual assault, through rape, that motivates abortion. We can't talk about the socioeconomic poverty and oppression that motivates. We can't talk about all of the fucking sick shit that Black women come from in terms of the toxicity of their families, the condition of their lives, the men who abandon these women and leave them on their own to provide for what they thought they was going to have help providing for in the form of their male partner, that also motivates abortion. And once again, can it be morally and ethically argued if abortion is right or wrong? Sure. But we're also not going to act like women are flying to the fucking abortion clinic enjoying having to abort their fucking child. And this really strikes me at the level of fucking ignorance to reduce women who have utilized abortion to shame about their choice, when if you ask any woman who's ever aborted a child, the pain they experienced to come to such a decision, the stress they endured to even come to that decision, the depression they dealt with for years after making that decision. And so to slam women for a decision that they don't make in a vacuum, because it's not like women are throwing goddamn abortion parties and hauling down with their girlfriend to the abortion clinic, girl, to get rid of that nigga's baby from 3 weeks ago and the one night stand she had at the goddamn bar when it was free ladies at 11. It ain't like that's happening. And so the stress and all of the circumstances, the physical circumstances, the emotional circumstances, women are considering this when they think about what they're bringing a child into. And then you have people who say, well, you can just, there's the girl, don't even talk to me about no fucking adoption. Do not even, girl, if we're talking about some of the conditions that Black people have to fucking endure in this country, girl, the fucking foster care system is even sicker than any sick family that you think you come from. Because if you think that people, if Black people living in families where they are sexually assaulted by people who are related to them, you don't think that sexual abuse is even more heightened for children who are being maneuvered through the foster care system? Have you ever talked to somebody who spent their whole life in foster care? And while, of course, there are nice, healthy stories, there are just as many horrific stories and even more injury caused to people who have been put through the system than anybody else. And so I'm not here for a conversation around blaming women for whatever drives them to abortion, more so than I am about, can we finally grow the fuck up, have some goddamn empathy for other human beings and decide that and understand that the way we've created society and who that society leaves behind and all of the fucking systemic issues that impact especially minority folk need to be addressed, because a lot of the things we do, whether it's the things we do to make money for ourselves, whether it's the high number of Black women getting abortions, whether it's whatever, can we talk about the conditions that create those decisions? You think that niggas prefer to be on the street corner selling dope just to be able to provide a decent vehicle for themselves and be able to help their mamas out and get her the things that she need and to take care of their little brothers and sisters? No. But to that nigga, being on the block is certainly more money, faster money, and more accessible money than working for any white man, waiting 2 weeks to get paid, pennies on a dollar, and to also not have access to a 401k, no medical fucking insurance, and just slaving for a fucking check. This is logical. This is psychology to people in the struggle. And people under a racist capitalism are finding their fucking way out of this shit. Whether it's Black women selling a fucking pussy, getting the OnlyFans, whether it's niggas doing gangster rap, etc. Whatever can create the breakthrough, because you can't create systems in a way that bring people to such suffering emotionally, psychologically, and financially, and then blame them for the things they do to have a breakthrough. If you're going to create the wall for somebody, you should expect them to break through it by any means necessary. And that's fucked up. And so I think one of the problems with really evaluating what's going on with the Black community is we are spending too much time blaming Black people and not enough time blaming the fucking wall put there by other people that force Black people to have to break the fucking rules. Shout out to Sha'Carri Richardson. I'm literally not here for this idea that you can make shit unfair for people who didn't ask for your ass to make things unfair for them, and then hold them 100% responsible for walking in some fucking virtue, for being perfect in all of thy ways, respect the limitations on your life, and do the right thing, when we know, especially within the West, that doing the right thing is only something that collectively benefits Europeans. When we ask people to do the right thing, the only people who can truly benefit from that is white folk. Which brings me to my first thing with Miss Angela Stanton. She says that through all of her boosting, scheming and scamming, okay, that she's come from imprisonment and being an ex-con, and she done had abortions herself, and she done came out of the struggle, and look at her now. Look at her now. A whitewashed overseer for the community. So if she could do it, then anybody else can. This is another one of the issues with Black folk. You think because you watch a nigga get set free that all niggas are free and have the same access to freedom. So this whole like anecdotal shit, like, oh, because I made it, you can make it. Bitch, girl, there are 37,000 variables that contrast me and fucking you. And you cannot live in a system and say that there is issues when it comes to sexism. gender, sexual orientation, and then look at black people and say, well, if I can make it as a nigga, you can make it as a nigga. No, because if we got to bring in colorism, bitch, we got to now talk about, girl, whether you've made it because of your skin tone in contrast to mine, whether you made it as a man in contrast to my sex as a woman. Like, we got to talk about, like, all of this shit. And anecdotal breakthroughs do not represent and do anything about systemic oppression. Yes, you as a black person have an opportunity maybe to have a breakthrough in the system. But we're not talking about whether the opportunity is there for individuals. We're talking about why a collective has not been able to move forward. And all of the data that supports systemic oppression, racist systemic oppression, sexist systemic oppression. Because we're living in the data age now, so we're not even talking theory, we're talking numbers that reinforce the reality of gender inequality, of racial inequality. So yeah, you can make it. Beyonce made it, Jay-Z made it, Kanye made it, Oprah made it. Have we made it? It's the question of systemic racism. You as a Negro getting a high-paying job in a white man's business is not making it either. Sorry. So we also have to bet the question of what the fuck does making it really, what are we defining as making it? Or is making it you having a good paying job? Is that making it? You working for someone else, getting cut a good check, making it? Like, what are we even defining as making it? Because we ain't even got clear on that shit, yet alone can say that because I made it, you can make it. That's actually not the case, because niggas would be making it in the bundles. Niggas would be making it by the bundles if that was the case. Okay? Unlike your white counterparts, they have no systems in place that prevent them, okay, from being successful. White people have no systems in place that prevent them from generational wealth and from accessing and creating generational wealth. Now, ask is that the case for black folk. Ask how many motherfucking niggas have access to generational wealth. Ask how many black people whose great-great-grandfather owns fucking Walmart, or who owns the patent, who owns the patent for the color blue. See, one of the really big benefits of being in power is that you control the distribution of that power. And most communities in power don't tend to be also in the business of sharing power, because power is created by taking power away from another system so that you can have that power. See, the issue with power in and of itself is that it offsets the fucking ecosystem. Because instead of being in harmony with the resources, we would rather have power over them, which offsets our ecosystem, offsets our humanity, because there is supposed to be no desire or no action taken upon power more so than there is harmony. Okay, so capitalism got this shit flipped upside down, and because white folk, Europeans, girl, I'm tired, are utilizing capitalism, we have a real big issue of disparity in the world. We have a really big issue of other nations assimilating to whiteness. because white people are colonizing the fucking planets like the fucking aliens from Independence Day. It's the monopolizing for me. It's the strategizing for me. It's the mothership over each major fucking city for me. It's a mothership. It's the mothership over each motherfucking country in the world. It's the monopolizing for me. It's a triangulating for me, bitch. For me. A shame and a scandal. So yes, Angela Stankin, we made it, but hell, are you really the one talking about your past as if you are some fucking staple of black breakthrough? Like, you made it from out of prison to then utilizing your salacious, low vibrating behavior with Apollo and his wife, Phaedra, as a way to then catapult you into pop culture. And then when Bravo wouldn't have you, and when Andy didn't want to bring you on as a storyline to help you fuel the sales for your book and to make you a reality star, you then developed another strategy, which is to utilize the internet and cooning out for motherfucking white people, okay? So that you could play off of the shock value of being a black woman participating in a white fucking party. And I'll tell you, you might have made a lot of dumb decisions in your life, Angela, but you finally found the one gimmick that has worked for you. You done tried to break the law, bitch. It didn't work for you. You tried to become a real housewife, and it didn't work for you. But you finally found the one fucking working formula. You know what's an easy, low vibrating opportunity? I'll be the shock jock to the black community. I'll be the Candace Owens to the black community. We done seen them all come and seen them all go. See them all go. You finally, through your desperation to be fucking relevant, okay? You finally found a working fucking formula. Amen. I'm happy for you, girl. Any way out, right? Any way out of the barrel, baby. Even if it is selling out is a way out, right? Okay. Moving along, child. Angela Stankin talked about single parent households lead to boys wanting to be their mothers. So, once again, these hotep talking points sound real cute, girl. And to a community, aka our black community, who is explicitly at this point deeply homophobic and transphobic, of course, once again, another gaslighting talking point, girl. To blame queer people for single parent households. And then this is, what I'm most surprised about from black people when I hear this sentiment that single parent households, that single mothers are responsible for trans women and single mothers are responsible for queer men, is I just love how you guys are always so interested in finding another thing to blame black women for. Black men having no power, you blame black women for. Black women can't wear bonnets, can't be fat, can't be black, cannot have any other option aside from respectability, from respectability politics, and the foot is on her neck. Black women can't have top priority. If the black woman makes it too much about her, that's the problem. If black men don't have more visibility over black women, that's an issue. Because we can even see, I ain't even going there with Black Lives Matter shit. But just another thing to blame black women for. If the black man leaves the household, the black woman is responsible. If the black man I can't even get over it. Everything is to be blamed on black women, including queer black people. So nobody sees how the single parent household antidote dehumanizes queer people and stigmatizes black women by forcing black women into blame for their queer and trans children. And I don't think that's fucking fair. Especially with homophobia and transphobia already leading to so many parents of black parents of queer people to feeling naturally like they did something wrong. Not because they actually, not because something wrong has happened, but because they've been conditioned to believe something is wrong, because they've been informed by the social norms and been informed by Christianity. So you have a lot of black parents who, because they have queer people, already sitting around crying, asking God why, where did they go wrong, what happened? Maybe I should have stayed with his daddy. Maybe I should have kept his daddy in his life. Maybe if he had a father in his life, maybe this is me being punished for my sins before I got saved. Like, this is literally the psychological gymnastics that people do in harboring shame over a fucking idea perpetuated by fucking religion. Religion that, once again, dehumanizes and other queer people, because, of course, queer people can't be a natural product of creation. They can't be a natural component of creation. No, that can't be the case. It has to be the chemtrails in the sky. It has to be the shit that's in the grits now. It has to be all of the vaccines and all of the goddamn shit that they're doping the fucking black woman up with during childbirth, during labor. It has to be it's like the fact that cis hetero people are so fucking privileged that they literally get to not only decide that queer people aren't natural and then create systems that have the fucking power to dehumanize and other queer people in this way. But straight folk have so much privilege that they get to sit back and use their imagination. You got to be one privileged motherfucker to be able to utilize, to be able to justify your othering and marginalization of me based upon whatever the fuck you create in your head about me. That is top tier privilege. Top tier fucking privilege. No, she ain't got no friends, brown skin lady, not one. Okay? So she also leaves out the equation that queer people are born into two-parent households. Queer people have moms and dad. I'm a super queer person who had mommy and daddy in the household my entire life. Most of my queer friends had their parents in their life. Both parents lived in two-parent households. So if you want to account for the presence of queer black children to single-parent households, you have to be able to explain all the other circumstances that queer people manifest in. Not only in single-parent households, but in two-parent households. That a very religious couple, a very bigoted anti-queer couple, can also give birth to a trans individual or a same gender loving individual. That queer people are manifesting irregardless. And what's funny to me is all of these new ideas around the way queer people are coming into the world, but straight people turn around and say at the same breath, this is not anything new. Gay people been here. So then which one the fuck is it, Angela Stankin? How can you say The LGBT community is not new. That LGBT folk have always been around. And then also talk about all of this new shit. Queer people being a product of chemicals and all this shit. But if your Bibles and your Qurans are talking about queerness, it would mean that at least, according to the religion of your faith, of your choice, that queer people at least go back to 3,000, 2,000 plus years, at least. And my question is, how do you account for it? The woman in the pig gala is Angela Stanton. Angela Stanton. How do you account for it? Huh? How do you account for the existence of the queer people that the Bible is talking about? Okay. All this modern, like, hypothesizing is fraud. Okay. Explain why your Bibles are talking about homosexual. Okay. Because that's how old your homosexuals are. Okay. It's the I don't really know what the fuck I'm talking about for me. It's the let me just say whatever the fuck I gotta say out of my ass just to play off of the ignorance of the overall community that I'm preaching to for me. Yeah, she can't just be real, and she won't. And that's another thing, Justin Pate. Why are they so fucking obsessed? They literally say that we are slinging our sexuality in their face, that we are pushing the agenda, we're shoving it down. It would seem to me that if you went out of your ways to criminalize homosexuality, which was literally criminalized up until the 60s and 70s, they were still putting queer people through electroconversion. They were literally still putting queer people through conversion camps, converting them through electroshock. The religions are literally written to persecute queer people, and we're the ones obsessed. The agenda was the Christian agenda. The agenda was the religious agenda. The agenda was the heterosexual privilege that became the agenda. Because if it don't look straight, sound straight, talk straight, if it doesn't operate within the binary that cis hetero folk created and established, then it's something else and it's not natural. Queer people aren't unnatural to nature. Queer people are unnatural to your ideas. Queer people are given birth to by spirit, by natural causes, okay? My daddy fucked my mother. She gave birth to my gay ass. Like every other fucking gay person born. The same pussy that Angela Stanton used to give birth to her queer children. By a biological male. The natural process that brings every other soul into the world is bringing queer people into the world. And if we're also going to run with this idea that vaccines and all this shit is the case, then why isn't everybody fucking gay? Why do straight people even exist at this fucking point if you're blaming the queer community on all of the shit that Black women particularly are pumped up with? But homosexuals don't just happen in the West. The queer community is in every fucking country, nation, every indigenous community. Queer people who don't utilize current medicine, who don't yield to Western medicine, all over the world since the beginning of time. And straight people don't think about this when they go to say stupid shit. Like, not, and when I say straight folk, I'm talking about all straight folk. I'm talking about the Angela Stankins of straight folk. I'm talking about the young pharaohs of straight folk. I'm talking about the Judge Joe Browns of straight folk. I'm talking about the Polites and the Dr. Umars, okay? who always find a way to reduce queer people to every other unnatural manifestation other than the one that has to do with coming out of the pussy itself. Everybody else can come through the... Where else is queer people coming from? Through the same pussy that everybody else, out of the same nut sack that everybody else came through, out of the same motherfucking fundamental process of procreating, which is through sex. So how do we even get to vaccines, chemtrails, grits, shit in food, shit in the air, shit in the house, shit on TV? If TV is that influential, why the hell are only queer people a product of what's on TV? But y'all say that queer people have been around forever. The black community always knew about gay folk. Gay folk always. So which one is it, child? And if gay can be influenced, then how the hell do gay people even exist? Especially when gay people in America only make up less than 1% of the fucking population. That means that straight folk have the majority rule by like the most, by the majority of the majority. We are literally the 1% out of the 99. So if we have been exposed to straight parents, heterosexual family members, heterosexual systems, heterosexual cartoons, movies, sitcoms, love, romances, binaries, how in the fuck do gay folk even exist? Because by the very argument that sexuality can be influenced, queer folk should actually be straight folk, because the overwhelming presence of heterosexuality in the world should have influenced them to be straight and to be cisgendered. But that's not the case. But that's not actually the fucking case. Can we stop with the wild imaginations and deal with the reality that melanin, the magic of melanin, the spirit of melanin, the spirit Mother Africa sees fit that two-spirited folk be in the world and always gonna be. You motherfuckers can build a great wall of China around Africa. You motherfuckers can prohibit and write the laws in such a way that you can keep every documented trans and queer person in the world from out of Africa. And do you know why Africa would still give birth to queer people? Because queer people come out of people. So wherever people gonna be, wherever the ability to reproduce is going to be at, wherever reproductive function is going to be the birth of queer folk. Are y'all okay? Oh, now moving along. What did I write here? Okay, so she talked about privilege and white privilege, but she can't understand cis hetero privilege. That's another thing about black folk. Black folk can see everybody as privileged, and even heterosexual folk can see everybody as privilege, but can't see heterosexual privilege. How isn't that convenient? That heterosexual black folk can see white privilege, can even see white male privilege, can even see white female privilege, that the poor can see the privilege of the rich and the privilege of the wealthy and the privilege of the famous. But baby, we can't have no conversation about cis hetero privilege. Every other fucking privilege can exist. Every other privilege. White privilege, male privilege, cis hetero privilege. Oh no, that's where the buck stopped. No, so what? No such thing. What about the Egyptian hieroglyphs of black queer people? I have literally put a fine-tooth comb through the practice of queerness and the existence and present queer people in Africa pre-colonialism on this channel so many times. Those videos are here on this platform. We've done it. We've told the facts, the real facts. Okay? And people like Angela Stankin and Judge Joe Brown and young Pharaoh want to conveniently avoid the truth about that. Yeah, they want to conveniently edit all of that truth out. And this is why queer people cannot trust cis privilege, because cis privilege oftentimes subtract us, our presence in civil rights, our presence within this world, all the archaeological data about our existence and presence in this earth alongside every other goddamn culture and system of peoples. And anytime you don't have power, you don't have the power to control your own narrative either. You don't have the power to, you don't have power that gives you access to the systems and the tools responsible for the distribution of that truth. So you have it personally as a queer folk, but the rest of your people are left behind in ignorance. You have it. You were self-initiative, or you were lucky enough to be born in a system where somebody educated you and exposed you to the truth. Because when you don't have power, you don't have the power to distribute the truth, but those in power do. And if that truth doesn't fit their narrative, they get to edit out what needs to be edited. Isn't that what white colonialism is doing right now? White colonialism are actually rewriting the history on Egyptian pyramids. And pyramids aren't just fucking reduced to fucking Africa and fucking Egypt. We have pyramids in North America, South America, Asia. We have ancient monuments, caves with history from indigenous people, rich histories filled with truth-telling that's being edited out by those in power. Because when you have power, you got the power to create the book. You got the power to be the his story. Whose story? His story. Who's him? Him. Is it white people's? Is it woman's? Is it man's? Is it black person's? Is it queer people's? Who's fucking history? Because history is also plural. So it's not even a us story, which is what it should be. A story. History should be a story. Because history is fucking plural. Only telling somebody's microcosm as existence from the finite, narrow fucking perspective of one singular mindset, when all of the history should be told. All of it. Now, she also said that the Democratic Party is a bunch of woe is me, I can't make it folk, and then went into a spiel about, oh yeah, I already talked about her being anecdotal, saying that just because she made it out of prison and ascended to being a bitter ass black female Republican, that, you know, if she could do it, anybody can be mad as hell. If she can be enraged, anybody can be enraged. Okay? If anybody can eat out of Master's asshole, if she can do it, anybody can do it, baby. Okay? She says that black women shouldn't abort but have their babies and don't have to be, oh, I talked about that too as well. Okay, Kwame and Angela say heterosexuals have no rights. Okay, girl, this is where my brain stopped. Kwame, when I got to that part, I was shook. I was scared for you. I was scared. I was scared when I heard you say out of your lips. When I saw your, I muted the video and put closed caption on, sir. Just to make sure that I had heard what I heard, because if my eyes also saw what my ears had heard, then I knew that it is what was. When you said Heterosexuals have no rights. I can't lie. I be shook at the shit I witness straight folks say all the time. I have been gay my whole life, and I have had to witness the things I have had to hear just to justify cis hetero privilege and to reinforce the marginalization and the emotional and physical abuse done to queer folk has been insane. But this new wave of Black folk with this whole heterosexuals have no rights. Like y'all, I'm concerned. I am concerned. Like, I really get scared. Like, I don't know what it means when people can say this type of stuff. I don't know what it means about the brain. I don't know what it means. And I get scared because I don't know what it means that people's brains can formulate that sentence and there be conviction behind it. I am hearing this more and more from my cis hetero counterparts as a result of the wave of queer people showing up in common spaces alongside heterosexual people. I don't know what's so hard about actually just admitting that one is homophobic. Like, I don't know why straight folk, because it's like a lot. Let me not say straight folk. I'm gonna say homophobic folk. There's like two types of homophobic people that I'm realizing exist. There's the explicit homophobe, that would be the Angela Stankins, the Young Fuckrow, the Dr. Umars, all of them. But then there's like the covert, microaggressive, passive homophobic person who is the, oh, I don't have any problem with queer people. I just don't like when queer people are extra, or when queer men are effeminate, or like, I don't know, like, I'm cool with queer people, but like, why you gotta act like a girl? Like, I'm cool with queer people. I mean, I ain't got no problem with nobody, but like, why, but like the people who want to be a woman, like, I don't have a problem with queer people, but why you gotta kiss in public? Like, I don't have a problem with queer people, but why you gotta like even mention that you're queer? Like, I don't, and it's just like, do you just feel better about yourself because you are like a soft homophobe instead of a thuggish homophobe? Like, does it just soothe your own conscience and help you to convince yourself that you're nicer than what you are just because you talk to yourself in such a way that allows you to get away with explicit homophobic rhetoric and ideology while also being able to like wrap a bow on that shit, because it's not about being gay, but it's just about like the way you're being gay, which is what homophobia is. Like, if you don't have a problem with gay people, straight folk, then it means you don't have a problem. But you can't say, I don't have a problem with the LGBT, except when they make out on BET. Except when Little Nas X decides to be just as affectionate with a male as his female or heterosexual counterparts do. I don't have a problem with queer people or trans people until they want to use the bathrooms associated with their pronouns. I don't have a problem with gay people until I know that they're gay. So I just want straight people to realize that when you claim you don't have a problem, except basically for when we coming to reveal of ourselves, that not only are you a homophobe, but the privilege of you being able to believe that I owe it to you to reduce myself and to reduce my intersection and my identity for the comfortability of your fucking ego is where the conversation gonna get rough at. Nobody, so it's not homophobic to not have a problem with queer people until they behave queer, until they look queer. What? Like if I say, right, okay, so because I'm not heterophobic, guess what? You don't see me contesting affection shared between heterosexual folk. You don't see me contesting heterosexuality displayed in my community, in my household, in my media, in movies, in sitcoms. That's what it looks like to not have a problem with heterosexuals. But you got people saying they're not homophobic, but have every bit of a fucking issue when homosexuals show up anywhere, when trans folk show up anywhere. And just because it's microaggressive as hell doesn't mean that it's any less homophobic, and it doesn't mean that it's any less dangerous. It doesn't mean that the rhetoric is any less dangerous. Because just as many trans women, just as many LGBT, particularly Black LGBT people, are just as in danger in their communities as Black folk in general are in this country. And then God forbid you bleed the intersection of sexuality. If you think that it's difficult to be Black in America, yeah, that's quantified when you're Black and queer in America. And since this is a patriarchy, Black, queer, and male, Black, queer, and trans, or Black and trans woman particularly, because anything that assimilates more to the man side gets a pass. Lesbian women get a pass. Studs and butch women get a pass for the most part. Far more of a pass. Trans men, because it assimilates to masculinity, because it's glorious to be masculine. It's glorious and acceptable to have the divine masculine. But you can't be a man and have the divine feminine. Because in a patriarchy, femininity is disposable. It is looked at as the weaker of the couple, the weaker of the pair. This is why all of you ever sat back and noticed in America, why are all of the love stories, why are all of the love stories and why are all of the heroism like narratives in America overwhelmingly about the divine masculine rescuing the divine feminine, the knight in shining armor, the king rescuing the princess? Why is it, y'all, you never sat back and noticed why you're conditioned from the time you are a child to see the divine masculine coming to the rescue? The divine feminine is interpreted within the patriarchy of the West as weak, fragmented, in need of guidance, in need of salvation, in need of help. So as far as patriarchy is concerned, Western patriarchy, who the hell would want to be a fucking woman? Who the hell would ever want to fucking attach themselves to any feminine fucking quality? Because the feminine represents the broken. We save women. We don't want to be women. We control women. We don't assimilate the fucking women. This is the attitude of Western fucking patriarchy. So of course, when a man gives up in the eyes of patriarchy, his male privilege, he's going to be stuck down in this country. Because as far as patriarchy is concerned, bitch, you didn't upgrade, you downgraded. You should be flexing in your masculinity, in your masculine energy. You should be, what? Men have power in this system. You're giving that up to be a fucking trans woman? Because patriarchy hates the divine feminine. That's why women out here are getting tore up out of the fucking frame. They're being sex trafficked. They're being physically abused, sexually assaulted. They're being abandoned and left to raise children that men help them to fucking create. They're having to fight for equal wage, for fucking protection against emotional, sexual, physical, and spiritual violence. The weaponizing of religion against women to be docile, stay in your motherfucking place, and do what the fucking man says. Shut your fucking mouth, fall in fucking line. You have no right to speak and no right to defy my authority as a fucking man, because it is a man's world and you just fucking live in it. That's toxic fucking patriarchy. And what sickens me about bitches like Angela Stanton is that she gets up there so fucking proud to reinforce not only coonery and white supremacy, but also has the audacity to reinforce toxic masculinity as a fucking woman without realizing that every time you support homosexuality and transphobia, you are supporting also the oppression of women, because the LGBT community and the women's community are not separate communities, which is why they're both being abused. They're both being emasculated. They're both being abandoned. They're both left at the same place in the barrel together. Because in this system, you can be anywhere on the female spectrum. To be a biological female makes you disposable. To be a trans woman makes you disposable. To be a effeminate male makes you disposable. Anywhere femininity is, you're defaulting yourself to being preyed upon by a toxic, patriarchal, capitalistic ass system. And so when black women, any woman, thinks that they feel so cute about themselves, when you too would rather these niggers be why the gay guys be masculine, when you help reinforce transphobia and homophobia, girl, the same spirit responsible for your fucking oppression is the same goddamn spirit responsible for homophobia and transphobia. You're ignorant, indignant as hell. So what makes my ass scratch even more than an ignorant ass hotep nigga is a motherfucking ignorant ass female hotep motherfucker. Because girl, you are supporting all the rules, all the variables that got his foot on your fucking neck. Thinking that you out here caping for toxic masculinity, proud and fucking loud. Girl, I can't. I fucking can't. Moving on. Moving the fuck on. Oh, okay. Straight people have. Okay, so then after he said heterosexuals have no rights, you can do what you want as an LGBT person in this country, but if you are straight, you can't. Then, so he brought up an example of how if a straight man beats a woman, he gets jailed for 3 days, etc. But if he beats a gay man, it's a hate crime. I'm trying to find out what I'm trying to figure out, and this was a quote. If a straight man beats a woman, he gets jailed for 3 days. But it was the but part for me. It was the insertion of BUT for me. Because that statement set up that way with the inclusion of the word but was like, it's okay. Like violence upon the woman, like punishment for abusing a woman is bullshit. Or should not even be. But my God, if he beats a gay man, it's a hate crime. Excuse me, sir. It's a hate crime, even when it's done unto women. They just call it domestic violence, who is, for the majority, represented as women. And yeah, there's punishment. I don't. There's not a that. Why should? And it's not even that cut and dry, because he just acted like, because the way he narrated it was like, just because a straight person is in a physical conflict with a gay person, that it automatically becomes a hate crime. No, it doesn't. That's why these altercations get vetted and investigated. The system has to look for an explicit use of what they would call hate crime rhetoric, where you called the F word before this assault happened. Were you being called the F word as the assault was happening? They vet the person's social media. Like, it's like he tried to act like, just like if me and him got into a fight and I called the police, that doesn't constitute as a hate crime just because I'm gay. But once again, this is the way that straight folk like to reduce it so that they can feel like the victims. And once again, I find it interesting that everybody gets the victim in, everybody gets the victim in this. Everybody gets to be the victim in this shit. If Beyonce protests the Super Bowl by having a Black Panther style performance, police get to be victimized and feel victimized. Now it's Blue Lives Matter. If Black folk get to hold up a mantra of Black Lives Mattering, which is a contrast to the lack of attention, respect, and proper execution of the judicial system, of the criminal justice system, as it relates to crimes committed against Black persons, then white people feel victim, and now it's all lives matter. Black people get to be the victims and be victimized by racism, but queer people don't get to be the victims. No, women can be the victim, men can be the victim, Black folk can be the victim, white folk can be the victim, police can be the victim, everybody gets a victim card. But gay folk, straight folk, I mean, LGBT folk can't be shit. Apparently nothing is happening to us. I guess we're supposed to enjoy going to hell, as the Bible says. I guess we're supposed to enjoy all those passages. I guess we're supposed to enjoy being raised in families where we can't bring our lovers and openly speak about our relationships, because there would be resistance and defensiveness there, because we're not allowed to show up in our existence. I guess we're supposed to enjoy watching our siblings being able to bring their lovers over casually and get the approval of mom and dad, and have our siblings have our parents fall in love with the in-laws while we live in secret. I guess we're supposed to enjoy being able to sit around heterosexual folk and endure them talking about their sex life and their marriages. And we're supposed to log into social media and keep a smile on our face when we see straight folk, getting married and celebrating their anniversary, while we keep our shit on the down low. Because apparently we're the ones pushing our agenda. But nobody talks about how straight people have whole fucking wedding ceremonies and want the world to know that they're in love and who they're fucking. That's what your marriage and the public display of your ceremony is. Hey, y'all, look at who I love and look at who I'm fucking for the rest of my life. But we're pushing the gay agenda. Girl, are you fucking okay? Are y'all okay? We endure heterosexuality and don't even, you know what the gag is? We endure and witness heterosexuality and haven't even had a problem. Don't even have a problem with it. Don't even have a problem with heterosexuality at all. All we wanted was to be able to do the same shit. The same thing that black people wanted. Is to be able to do the same shit that white folk get to do. That's it. Don't got a problem with white folk. Just want to be able to do and have access to what white folk have access to. Higher quality of living. Safety, security in this system. Queer people living, existing, don't have a problem with nobody else's existence. Just want to be able to have access to the same resource, the same sense of fluidity within their lifestyles. Why should I have to shut the fuck up about my sexuality when you get to parade your shit around anniversary after anniversary after anniversary? You get to parade your sex life around baby after baby after baby, pregnancy after pregnancy after pregnancy. It's okay for me to live in the city and ride past strip clubs geared towards straight folk. See straight folk sexuality everywhere. See straight folk romance everywhere. Nobody else got to keep their private life private. Because ironically now all of a sudden, because queer people want to just do the same shit that straight folk do, all of a sudden we got to be in the closet and covert about our shit, about our gender identity, about our sex life, about our sex partners, about our affection. And only until queer people show up and want to do exactly what everybody else want to do, then does it become, oh, well, none of us should do it. No, bitch, we ain't gonna do that. No, ma'am, Miss Mamas. We're not gonna do the, well, I don't want to see straight. Oh, no, bitch. If you wasn't protesting the publication of heterosexual anything prior to queer people being able to benefit from doing the same thing, no, ma'am. You're not about to have us all live in the closet just because you don't want to see us. No, ma'am. You ain't have no fucking problem with the world being the way that it is. All of a sudden, because queer people in the world, now we should take all sexual shit off TV. Now we should take everybody's love life hurl. I don't want to see SpongeBob. I don't want to see Mickey Mouse kissing Minnie Mouse. These motherfuckers ain't have no problem with Minnie and Mickey's love until Mickey and Mickey's relationship is on there. Now, oh no, we shouldn't. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the entire fuck up times 12. Shut the fuck up times 100. Shut the fuck up times 100,000. Shut the fuck up times 100 million. Shut the fuck up times infinity. Shut the fuck up times eternity. Just shut the fuck up. Cause you got me fucked up while you ain't shutting the fuck up. On to another note. Another thing that was said is, see, straight folk should just ask more questions before they go to speaking. Because Miss Angela Stankin's ass said every letter in the LGBTQ stands for a sexuality. So why would we allow our children to identify with being LGBTQ because we are acknowledging a sexuality that children shouldn't even have? Once again, this dumbass, ignorant buffoonery rhetoric is connected to this whole idea that you will say nothing to your child for crushing or having an eye or love for someone of the opposite sex, because there's nothing wrong with that, right? So which means that you have no problem with seeing them as heterosexual. Matter of fact, when you conceive them in your worldview and in your privilege, your only expectation was that they were heterosexual. And neither do the acronyms represent sexuality. There's gender identity on the acronym. There's asexuality on the acronym. There are ways of being and showing up in feminine energy and masculine energy, like androgyny, non-binary on the acronym, that have nothing to do with sexuality. And there's also nothing wrong with the sexuality portion, because guess what? We all have a fucking sexuality. We all have a fucking sexuality. And you should be more intelligent than that, Angela Stankin, to think that having your 9-year-old identify as LGBT has nothing to do with sexual exploitation, more so than at that age. It simply is a represent. First of all, there's something that happens before explicit sexuality in human beings. Like, we climb an emotional scale, right? Like, when I was a child, my dick didn't just get hard someday. I experienced what you would call my sexuality in the form of, first of all, emotional bonding with the same sex. Things represented in feeling and emotion before my body was even mature enough to have a response. But the connection point. Yeah, we use the scientific term sexuality, but that's not even a term that's really even true to all of the nuance to what we're calling heterosexual or homosexual or sexual even. Because it's not just about sexuality. Your sexuality begins as an emotional connection and an emotional resonance with whatever sex is of your orientation. So I knew I was attracted to little boys from an emotional standpoint when I was a little boy, before my body could react. Like, when I was a little child, I recognized a particular magnetism between me and other boys that wasn't there for me and girls. I didn't know what to call it because it wasn't represented. I didn't have it. There was no concept for what I was experiencing. I didn't have the language or no conceptualization of orientation. But there were connections and ways I felt about other guys. And this is the same for girls. Girls, you have like Justin Bieber's and all these like young female fans fanning out over the Biebers of the world. Fanning out over Backstreet and NSYNC, 12, 11. These girls aren't in their rooms with posters of Justin Timberlake or Justin Bieber masturbating in a room. They don't even experience their orientation sexually yet. But there's an emotional charge that they are experiencing before there is a sexual one. The sexual shit comes by way of puberty and all that other shit. But first and foremost, there's a graduation to that. Our orientation is, first of all, represented to us, once again, as an emotional resonance. Do you think that your parents knew at an early age that you were gay? No, they didn't, because I was just like any other boy. I was out there playing ball, playing football on my bicycle. I was a hoodlum and a heathen running through fields. I was a rough house, like I was any other typical male. I didn't even know I was fucking gay when I was gay. I knew what I was experiencing, but I didn't know it had anything. I didn't know what it. I was a young person. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even think about it. I just experienced it. Kind of like you experience hunger. You know, like it's like any other desire. It's just represented as an emotion or represented in you having a bond with someone, like kind of fanning out over someone. And young people have crushes. Young boys crush over girls that hide their daddy's Playboy magazines under their beds. Shout out to American Pie. You know, like young people's sexuality is complex because sexuality is complex. And look, that conversation, sexuality is complex. And also we live in a country that's very sensitive about the topic of children. So we don't have the luxury of even really being able to have the conversations that need to be had, the real conversations that need to be had. Like how many of us was 8 and 9 years old playing Hi Go Get It? How many of us was 8 and 10 years old running around playing fucking house and humping each other and having the girl, you know, be on the easy bake oven while we act like we are doing a man's job and building a car or doing something masculine, imitating heteronormative behavior, and also having some attraction. Like this is the like genesis of our development in terms of understanding and being curious and our orientation coming to life. Sometimes it's represented as sexuality, sometimes it's represented just as emotion. For me, my orientation started out as emotional. I didn't begin to have a physical sexual response to the same sex until I had hit puberty. And then that's when everything else was getting hard. But before my body was responding that way, it was more so something that was happening to my heart. Something that you just are experiencing almost like psychically. Like it's not represented just yet as something physical, but it's there. And I have young nieces and nephews who are young people, 6th graders and 5th graders, and they have boyfriends and girlfriends. And I be thinking to myself, how do young people know? It's interesting that we act like sexuality is something that doesn't happen until you're 45 fucking years old. When we know as humans, that's not the fucking case. And where does having a girlfriend and boyfriend come from in 5th grade? Where does having a boyfriend and girlfriend come from in 6th grade? Where does it come from in 4th grade? What is this? Because obviously it's not sex at that point, but it's something else. And so going back to Angela's point that we are sexually exploiting young people when we identify them as bisexual or gay or lesbian, it's just like, girl, this is, first of all, we aren't even properly educated on sexuality, and sexuality will hardly even be the right word to really, I prefer orientation, if anything, orientation. And that conversation is something that we're also uneducated about. We don't even know and observe. We don't even pay enough attention to ourselves as we develop as young people. But young people have a sexuality and orientation like any fucking body else. And they may not express it and represent it the way that adults do, but orientation begins at all various stages of the development of a human being. Some people weren't interested in any fucking body until they were late into their teenage years. Some people got their early start in sexual activity. Like all my friends growing up had been lost their virginity at 12, 11, 10. Bitch, I ain't lost my virginity until I was 18. Now I was interested in guys, but I didn't even have sex until I was 18. I used to be shook hearing motherfuckers done had sex how you have sex at 12? I mean, I know how you have sex, but it just speaks to the complexity of orientation. So yes, you can be attracted to someone at any age. You can be 9 and attracted to another 9-year-old, to another 10-year-old. That happens. You're not doing anything wrong by identifying a young person as gay or queer or lesbian. They're still what they are, regardless of what you call it. This is just another way for straight folk to have to be in denial. Like, if we don't call it queer, then it won't be queer. If we don't call it gay, it won't be gay. If we don't accept him being gay in the house, if we don't support him or her being lesbian or queer, then it'll just go away. This is just another tactic of homophobia, stupid ass privilege, and a way for heterosexual folks to stay in the dark. If we don't acknowledge the duck for quacking, if we don't acknowledge the duck for its web feet, if we don't acknowledge the duck for anything else identifies it, then maybe it'll be a cat tomorrow instead. And you do damage to queer people when you reject what they know about who the fuck they are. And if you can accept your 9-year-old saying, "Mommy, I want to be a ballerina when I grow up," or "Daddy, I want to fly planes when I grow up," why the fuck do you think that your child can't have any other assumed identity when you allow them to have other assumed identities all the time? You saw that they were really good at dancing and they wanted to be a dancer, so you put them in dance class since they've been 3. They wanted to sing since they were 4, so you gave them vocal coaches. You done nurtured and stood behind and supported every other motherfucking identity that they've had at an age that you're saying they're too stupid to know anything. They're too stupid to have an identity. They're too stupid to have any perceived identity. But only when it comes to orientation. Only when it comes to who they love. I just don't get the fucking hypocrisy. Women were often shamed as girls as if a thought of a woman having a libido. Yeah, all of that religious influence, all of that crazy shit. I mean, the shit is knotted up and crazy. And if heterosexual people like had to deal with like the way their lives were informed by religion, right? Like all the ideas around chastity and purity and what girls should do and how girls should not have a sexuality and how boys should sow their wild oats, like how the culture informed and socialized men and women, how religion informed and socialized men and women, made it complicated for everybody on both sides, straight folk and gay folk, ended up confused, restricted and prohibited based upon what the worldview was of their family, of their community is. But if you were queer, you definitely were confused because there was nothing there for you. Even if like I was a boy, a heterosexual boy growing up, coming into a conservative, coming into a conservative community with conservative family, with a conservative parents. And I was forced to go to church my whole fucking life. And I was indoctrinated to believe that I had to stay pure until I married a woman and lose my virginity. The gag is like, yeah, I was indoctrinated to see my sexuality maybe as sinful and only reserve it for a woman. But at the end of the day, I wasn't prohibited from being straight. I just couldn't act on certain impulses as a straight man until these conditions, marriage, until these conditions, wife, until these conditions. Same thing for women. But for gay people, there's nothing. Just don't be gay. And never, no. There's never a time where you can be gay. There's never a condition where it's okay to be gay. You just can't do it. It's bad, bad, bad to think about it. It's bad, bad, bad to want it. And it's bad, bad, bad to do it. And if you do it, you're going to piss God off and you're going to go to fucking hell. So even for straight folk who have had their orientation suppressed and all this shit by patriarchy, sexism, by religiosity, you weren't ever prohibited from being straight. You were just given conditions as a straight person. You were just giving social norms and preferences to abide by, so that you could behave like a heterosexual that your community wanted you to be. But queer people can't be queer people at all. You can't be trans at all. You can't be gay at all. You can't be same-sex attracted at all. There's just a total rejection of the community, of the other orientations that exist, of gender identity. My son was hanging pics. I can't even highlight this shit. Why can't I highlight this shit? Hold on, y'all. Let me see. Oh, there it goes. My son was hanging pics of women in bikinis on his wall at 4 years old, so I knew which way he was going. People know. Yeah, like these young Nickelodeon and Disney stars wouldn't even fucking have young girl, young boy fan bases without the orientation of young people. Because that's what's fueling the fandom in the first place. It's crazy. But moving along, y'all. So then he said, somebody said, I think Angela Stanton said it's all over the TV, all over the media. We already done talked about that, child. Heterosexuality is all over the place. And what? So what? So what? You got to share. Yes, cis hetero folk. Y'all got to share now. It is what it is. Kwame says that he talked about everything in the BET Awards, the violence promoted. However, when he spoke on Lil Nas X, it was a problem. So Kwame was saying that the BET Awards was crazy and a lot of stuff is promoted that's bad for the community. And he called all that out, the violence in hip hop and rap, the hypersexuality in hip hop and rap. But when he criticized Lil Nas X kissing a man, he got backlash, and I guess apparently he got backlash from the LGBT community and or LGBT allyship. And I guess he was trying to make the point that it's okay to criticize everybody else, but when you say anything about queer people, it's a problem. That's because y'all don't attack what queer people do. Y'all attack who queer people are. That's the issue, Kwame. If you like, the kiss is a representation of this man's humanity, which is his orientation, something that can't be altered. Like, y'all be attacking who queer people, like what queer people are, which is gay. That's very different than critiquing a queer person for what they do. Y'all never attack queer people for their politics or anything else. The attack is on the orientation. The orientation. And once again, never, ever, 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 ever give queer people any credit for anything that they do. It's always a criticism. Never talk about all the queer men and queer women who have families, who are business owners, who are high-end fashion designers that all these straight niggas are wearing, but have the audacity to want to be homophobic, but wearing queer designer shit. Like, and every time that a queer person comes up, it's their sexuality that's the focal point. But yet we're the ones obsessed with our sexuality and want to throw it in everybody's face. But nobody can even mention a gay person without saying gay person. Oh, the gay guy? Davion? Yeah, I know him. The gay guy. Oh, Lil Nas X, the gay kid. Not the entertainer. He's a guy who's an entertainer who happens to be gay. And anytime gay people, lesbian people, trans folk come up, our intersections come up because y'all make it about that. I have literally sat around with straight folk when trans folk came into spaces and then be like, oh, that's a man. Oh, yeah, Sheila. Oh, I know her. But you know that that's really a him. Excuse me? But yet we're obsessed. But y'all have to introduce us, and half the time involuntarily introduce us and endanger us by outing us before we even get a chance to fucking out ourselves. But we're the ones obsessed with our sexuality. We're the ones obsessed with our gender identity. We are the ones. Bitch, half the time I can't even, just because I got long hair, the first thing that's going to be assumed is gay. Shit. People use the way I dress, my aesthetic, as a way to inform them about what my sexuality is. But if that's the last thing that's on straight folk mind, why are you even looking for anything about me to inform you other than what the fuck I tell you? Why do you not see a person first instead of a gay person first? That's your fault. You see a gay person first. That's your fault. You see a trans person first. That trans person ain't wearing a sign around their neck saying, hey, I'm trans. That trans person ain't wearing a fucking dog tag around saying, hey, so you see it first. You choose to acknowledge it. You choose to acknowledge it and say it to the people around you and to the niggas you with and to the people you're sitting with. But we're the ones who are shoving our sexuality in folk face when y'all can't even have conversations and have queer people in y'all family without identifying them as gay or as trans. Y'all can't even see queer people out in public without duly noting that their sexuality first. Without even knowing if it's their sexuality. Because we ain't even gonna talk about all the ignorant shit that straight folk use to come to the conclusion. His pants are super tight. That nigga gay. Look at that gay nigga. Oh, she looks super butch. She must be gay. Oh, that looked like a man passing as a woman. That's a trans woman. Like, oh, his hair is pink. That's definitely a FAG. Oh, he's got a high-pitched voice. Definitely. Oh, he's pretty. FAG. Punk. Gay. Like, all of the weird, elementary ass shit that straight folk observe so that they can get to our sexuality first. But it's okay for them to obsess in their minds over what we are. I know motherfuckers. Do y'all know that the download detective Markeith, what's his name? Markeith Rivers? I think he's now a trans woman. This nigga had a booming business because straight women were obsessed over his ability to see if a man was bisexual or gay or not. And this nigga was making good money as the download detective because straight folk are obsessed. Is he gay? Is he gay? Is he gay? But we the ones. Even when gay people trying to be on the down low, even when the community chooses to be on the down low, there's just no way to escape straight folks' obsession over queer folks' identity. Dumb stereotypes, stupid ass shit. Like homophobia is literally the stupidest shit. Along with racism, just along with sexism, just it's all the stupidest shit in the world. The stupidest shit. All of this is the stupidest shit in the fucking world. Lil Nas X. So Angela Stanton tried to make the argument that Lil Nas X came from being a child and he's being used in the gay agenda to hypersexualize the children and to sexually perverse the children because he got his start with Old Town Road, which was being marketed to children and a young demographic and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, okay, so was everybody else who started off as a child star had a sexuality agenda? Because I didn't hear anything about, you know, I've heard about the gay agenda, but once again, we don't hear anything about the straight agenda. So when Justin Bieber grew up and became a fucking man, that was a problem? Yeah, he got his start as a young man who obviously had a young audience. He becomes an adult man. His priorities shift as he becomes Jessica Simpson, Janet Jackson, Good Times, Anytime You Need a Favor, Michael Jackson, Jackson 5. When everybody else got to have a childhood, everybody else got to be child stars, there was no agenda when those people who got their start as innocent young folk then became salacious. Because didn't Janet Jackson go from Penny to If I Was Your hand, all the things I do to you, I make you call out my name, I like who it belongs to. Didn't Justin Timberlake go from the Mickey Mouse Club to I Wanna Rock Your Body? Everybody else got to grow the fuck up and move the fuck on, because people just don't become celebrities when they are grown. Celebrity is accessible when you are a young person as well. Guess whose job it would be to take and remove Lil Nas X presence from their children's playlists, from their children's bedroom walls? It would be the parents. It's not Lil Nas X's fault that his song popped off in one place and then he decided to take it to another place, because at the end of the day, he is a grown ass man. All type of fucking songs get popularized and become popular to young children. You ever heard of something called the Teen Choice Awards? Huh? All the same top 10 shit that's on the Billboard Hot 100 is all the same shit going up for awards at the Teen Choice Awards. All the same grown ass fucking music that is censored for children, but the rated R version is given to grown folk. No problem. Okay. All right. She blames her trans daughter's transness, okay, on vaccines and shit injected. They talked about that. Those are the end of my notes. So let me balance this out and say what I agreed with. I agreed with absolutely nothing she said as it relates to any conversation around sexuality and LGBT folk. Angela Stanton is one of the most ignorant, uninformed, deaf-toned, ignorant ass people when it comes to the subject and the around sexuality and gender identity. Literally. There's no insight and true understanding. No information and idea in her head that's actually rooted in reality as it relates to LGBT any fucking thing. So I can always count to throw all of that shit out of the window when it comes to her. Some of the shit she spoke about when it comes to white supremacy, yes. Some of the shit around abortion and black people stop aborting their babies, I agree. Abortion, I don't think is an ideal option. But I would much rather us focus upon fixing the system so that black women have the resources they need emotionally and financially to not only bring children in the world, but have the means to raise those children and be healthy parents to those children and have those children be raised in decent, dignified conditions, because it's not enough to just have birth. It's not just enough to give birth. It's not just enough to bring forth birth. And considering that it's Angela Stanton who is begging black people to have black children, it's a shame, because her worldview doesn't even allow for black trans children and black queer children to even be treated properly as a result of being born. Because when those black children she's begging for black women to bring into the world come out as trans, lesbian, or gay, she's going to make sure she's in place to make those children feel ashamed and to make those black women feel ashamed for having trans children and black children. So once again, you can always count on these hotep talking points to cancel themselves the fuck out and stop talking about abortion without talking about the system, because nobody in this fucking world who actually loves what's inside of their bellies is excited to have a child while knowing that they don't have the financial or mental stability to care for that child, and also knows that the foster care system is no place for that child. Anytime we talk about these systems, we need to talk about people, groups, those who get abortions, those who get cosmetic surgery, those who blah, 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 blah. We need to talk about why. Why do people want to do these things? And address the why, not the people. The people oftentimes are a product of the conditions. The people oftentimes are a victim of the conditions. We need to focus upon conditions. And yes, as crazy as conditions can be, do everybody become a victim of conditions? No. So do we have minority people and marginalized folk who have been born and grew up in all type of fucked up conditions, who created a decent life for themselves, who are happy, stable folk? Absolutely. But those are way too many negative odds for anyone's soul to have to endure or to have to live through with the hopes that they're going to grow up and be okay. We should be interested in changing the conditions to ensure that there is a high level, that there's a high probability that the souls coming in are going to have a fair shot at a healthy relationship to themselves, have a fair shot at healthy parenting, have a fair shot at the resources necessary for success in this country, irregardless of race, irregardless of gender, irregardless of sexual orientation, irregardless. So if we care so much about these unborn children, can we then accept that these unborn children have to live in a world? And can we start to make the world a better place so that it feels better to bring children into this world? Instead of telling people to just stop fucking getting abortions while not addressing, once again, all of the real issues that motivate people to not see their pregnancy through. I only agree with her about not having women handcuffed during childbirth. That's about it. Right. Oz says having a baby does not make you a mother. Nope. There's a difference between being a parent and being a mother. And it's clear from the way that Angela Stankin has been toward her trans daughter. Like, Angela Stankin, do you, like, I don't give a fuck that you are JB's mother. The fact that you think because that's your child, that it gives you a right to show up in a way that your child is telling you is detrimental to their mental and emotional health by disrespecting their pronouns, because now I'm not a child. It was one thing when you justified your disrespect for me and I was forced to live under your roof, under your rules, and had to suck up all of the emotional abuse. But now I'm grown and you claim to be my parent, and I'm giving you the opportunity to also be my mother by actually loving, which is represented in your respect for me. See, JB is giving Angela an opportunity to upgrade from parent to mother. See, all that a parent does is provide access to housing, clothes, and shoes. All a parent does is provide. Provide physically. What a mother does is nurture, affirm, put herself aside, and let her baby know. The hell come how war, whether I agree or disagree, you got a right to live the life that makes you the most happy. And whether I personally agree or not, should not stand in the way of you living in a way that makes you happy and makes you feel whole. Because a mother will never exchange her relationship to her own offspring for the sake of her own egotism, which is what Angela Stankin has done. By allowing her inability to respect, not to accept, but to respect her trans daughter's identity. You don't got to accept it, Stankin. But if you had any actual compassion and love in you, if you had any decency in you, if you had any empathy, any humanity in you, you would certainly be able to respect her trans identity. Respect, your ability to respect is indicative of your own maturity and posture as a woman. So the fact that you can't even slap respect on it. Parent it is. Parent it is. My Yaya says, what race is she representing? At the end of the day, that's their main fear. The white race is shrinking every day. Gotta reach them before conception. Keep your damn legs closed or get on birth control. You're not financially stable or mentally. But that's an interesting point there, Fresh Dude, because once again, like, it's a matter of privilege. When you're talking about marginalized folk. So the interesting thing about like capitalism and all of the oppression that surrounds capitalism, especially as it relates to being marginalized, is that it impacts people's mental health. And so one of the things that we see around oppression as it's connected to minority people is that people don't have the ability to love themselves enough to keep their legs closed. People don't love themselves enough to get on birth control. People might suffer generationally and being raised and birthed out of families that have certain patterns. Like everybody in the family ended up as a single mom. That's why we call it a generational pathology, a generational curse. People not having the emotional resources. People mimic where they come from. People are a lot of times a product of their upbringing. Think about how most people in this country identify with the Christian religion who didn't even choose it themselves. They were given it. They saw it practiced. It was reinforced by them having to go to church and always hear about the Bible and having to read the Bible and all this kind of shit, and don't even actually choose this religion. They inherited it because it was a family practice. And even though there are other things out there, other religions out there, you never entertain them because of the indoctrination. Well, that's how generational pathologies work. That's how upbringings work. They shape the way we even care about ourselves. Capitalism, poverty, depression shapes the way that we show up in our bodies, the way that we experience other people's bodies, the way that we perceive ourselves in the eyes of the society around us. And so even closing your legs would be an act of self-love and responsibility, something that people who are oppressed sometimes don't have the inner awareness to do, because sex is being used as relief on top of being something that's natural. And when people's back are up against the wall emotionally, people are struggling, that impairs your judgment. You can't make decisions when you're poor and traumatized, when you're lost, when you exist within toxic families, when you exist within communities that have toxic practices. You can't show up as your best self a lot of times. You know, people can be the exception to the rule, but that's why we call it the exception, because it's not the case in general. And we can never use the exception as like some model citizen reference for what everybody else should be able to do, because that also is a way to dismiss the variables that contribute to poverty, that contribute to oppression, that contribute to things that are experienced by the majority of the people in the situation, not just affecting one or two persons, but that generally impact humans in this way. So we got to change the conditions. You know, I know people who should stop smoking cigarettes because it's killing them. People who should change their diets because it's killing them. And you know, the number one reason why people can't do a lot of the things that they are doing, because people are not emotionally well for one reason or another, because of undealt with trauma, because of undiagnosed depression, because they don't even have the knowledge and the understanding to even vet their own emotions. So you have a lot of Black people walking around depressed and don't even know it. They're fully functional depressed people because of the issue of ignorance around mental health in the Black community. So people walking around not even knowing that they're not well, but think they well just because they work in a job, thinking they well just because they were able to move out and they have their own place now, thinking that they well because of things that have nothing to do with being able to be well, because being well has to do with, as you just said, what's connected to wellness is responsive. How responsible am I? And when you're not, and when you're struggling to help yourself, it's because there's something off in self. Whether you need to help yourself eat better, whether you need to help yourself make more money, whether you need to help yourself, whatever that, if you're struggling to help self, it's because something is off. And when you have the issue of systemic oppression, and capitalism and all these things blanketing, creating communities that are fractured. You have a rabbit hole that's so deep, and you have shit that has to be cleaned up in such a way that the responsibility goes beyond just holding the individual responsible. You have to really address the actual system itself and its brokenness. Why so many Black men are in prison right now for petty crimes. Why so many Black women maybe not closing their legs. Why are they just giving themselves away? Why are they participating in toxic relationships? We can't make that an individual issue because something is going on culturally. Something is going on systemically. Something is going on beyond the individuals. And I'm interested in what that is, in all that that is, because that's how we're going to finally deal with the root and not the symptom. The symptom is slapping one person at a time. But there's something that's blanketing this world, blanketing this country, blanketing Black people, and it's fucking white supremacy. And that's why Europeans are excelling in the system and believe, and they have the luxury of believing that the world is a utopia and everything is just fine. What are you talking about? Racism? What is that? What are you talking about? Sexism? Everything's fine. Because the system was made for their benefit. That's why it's easy for them to skip a loo. Why you think white people are so jolly and seem so carefree and just have the luxury of figuring out what they want to do in life with all this privilege? While Black people struggle to even wake up on a Monday. While Black people struggle with feelings and not even want to fucking live today. And not that nobody else is experiencing these things, but we're talking about what's collectively wrong with Black people and what is contributing to that, because it's not just Black people that's contributing to Black people. There are systems, racist, oppressive, capitalistic, patriarchal systems in place, contributing to what all human beings would experience naturally. But it becomes our normal reality. Depression becomes our normal reality as Black people. White people have the luxury of experiencing a tragedy and going through a bad time and back on to life eventually. Black people generationally are suffering in sadness, in grief, in the intergenerational transference of trauma perpetuated by generational pathology, molestation, rape, all this underhanded abuse, the respectability politics in the Black households that lead Black people to believe that abuse is a form of discipline, all this shit that's culturally and generationally wrong, all these things that nobody is helping, and nobody's helping Black people. The system that fucked Black people over in this way, white supremacy, doesn't even want to acknowledge that racism even exists, so that they don't have to help anybody, so that they don't have to restore anybody, so that they don't have to inconvenience themselves by stopping in their tracks and first and foremost CTV. Where were you when I was coming up in the hellish foster system? You have so much wisdom and compassion. I don't even. I don't. Well, Ray, you say you're older than me, so I maybe I was playing with G.I. Joes. I don't know what I was. But now that I'm here, you know, it's definitely our job to raise compassion. You know, what's interesting about this is that compassion made me put up with a lot of toxic people. And that's why I really empathize with Black women who, because of their divine feminine, are more subjected to compassion and nurture, because I watch Black women make a lot of room. while also being victims of trauma themselves, but oftentimes play the hero in so many other people's stories. And you know, you can't control whether people take the opportunity to be healed. But I think that a just society is built on making sure that at least people have the option to do well if they want to. And the only way to actually know that that option is there in this world for ourselves and for our children's children, is if we actually dismantle white supremacy and capitalism and destroy power as a thing altogether. That's the only way that any generation is going to have a shot across the board, irregardless of intersection, irregardless of race, irregardless of ethnicity, irregardless of gender, irregardless. And we got to stop punishing minority people. We got to stop punishing people who are on the shorter end of society's stick, instead of taking the foot off the system and putting the foot on the victim and having them go over and beyond for what comes easier for so many other people. That's why we're here talking about the issue of homophobia and transphobia. Because trans and queer folk have to navigate this space too. And they should have the right to navigate it just as fluidly, just as comfortably as their heterosexual counterparts. That's just. That's fair. Whether your religion will force you to agree with it or not. Fair is fair, and just is just. And whatever freedom you afford to yourself, you should certainly support in somebody else. Whatever your religious freedoms are, your freedom to even choose a religion, it's the same choice that other people are utilizing to choose Buddhism, to choose paganism, to choose any African religious system, voodoo, hoodoo, etc. It's a right. It's a freedom. It's a liberty. Give people their liberty. If you're so constitutional and patriotic, do not once again only think that you should benefit from freedom and have access to freedom, and nobody else doesn't. And the way to be a community is by making sure that the people you in proximity to, whether they are queer people in the form of relatives, whether they are pagan or voodoo practitioners in the form of neighbors or relatives, is by having your opinion, but make sure that you treat them with dignity and make sure that they get to show up in who they are just as you afford yourself to show up in the family or in the community or in the church house or in the workplace or in the classroom as who you are. It's about having your opinion and still supporting someone else's freedom. And you don't have to give up. For all of y'all who want to have an opinion so fucking bad, honey, just fighting for the right to not agree with a motherfucker. Fine, I'm even cool with that. Don't fucking agree. Don't agree with somebody being trans in your mind or queer in your mind while also supporting outwardly their right to show up exactly as who you don't want them to be because it's their right. And you should not use what you believe to justify keeping someone else in shackles just because it's not normal to you or it's not whatever to you. Let people live in the same fucking freedom that you have. You pushing around here as the type of woman you are, you done cut your damn hair, shave your damn hair, braided your goddamn hair, dyed your damn hair. You're looking like the new Eve, but just in 1999, you was going through a Rough Rider era where you was in baggy clothes and Timberlands too. Let niggas be effeminate if they want to be fucking effeminate too. You as a woman get to switch it up in every which way. You get to be butch as hell today. You get to be Aaliyah the next. You get to be Michelle Obama next week. Black men, the same thing. Y'all get to be sexual hounds. Y'all get to create spaces for yourselves and be those hounds, whether it's the barbershop, the locker room, the pool house, whatever the case may be. You have no problem with your own sexuality and the explicit nature of your own sexuality. So respect other queer people when they want to pop their fucking pussy and kiss niggas too. Respect women when they want to pop their fucking pussy and talk about their shit being wet as hell. All this double standard shit, all this classism shit, it's just time to shut the fuck up. Whatever the fuck you can do, even if it's not doing the things everybody else does, is a right. Because you get to choose, right? And it feels good, right? It feels good to be the type of woman you are, because you get to choose not to be a Cardi B. But don't take nothing away from Cardi B either, because she's a Cardi B. Because she got to choose not to be you, and it's fine. It's fine. You got to choose not to be her, and she gets to choose not to be you. That's fine. If you are straight, it's fine if you're straight. People get to be queer. People are queer. You just gotta give, you gotta, and maybe you know what? Maybe the reason why we can't extend freedom is because the people who we think actually have it don't even fucking have it. Because we might be asking people to do something that they don't even feel like they even have themselves. You know, we're asking our straight cis hetero counterparts to extend the same freedoms that they do explore and show up in fluidly without a bat of the eye. But I think because black folk, even straight black folk, even though they participate in privileges queer people don't, because blackness is also being oppressed, even black straight people still feel like they don't have a privilege. And that's why it's so difficult to talk to black straight people about privilege, because ultimately blackness is being suppressed, including black heterosexual, not black heterosexuality, but just black people in general. And so because black people are in a cage and black queer people are in a cage within a cage, black cis hetero folk just I'm like, girl, what are y'all talking about? I'm oppressed too. Yeah, you are. But you know, it's levels to this shit, bitch. Okay. And if you struggling and you got more freedom than me, bitch, then imagine what the fuck I feel like in this system. If you straight and black and you feel shrunk in this fucking system, imagine how black trans men feel. Imagine how black trans women feel. Imagine how it feels to be a minority within a minority within a minority. Imagine having multiple oppressive intersections. Imagine having multiple marginal intersections. If you cis hetero man or woman and your ass feels smushed by this damn system, then yeah, it's a double up for everybody else. I'm gonna have Big Rainy on the show real soon, you guys. So you guys be looking out for that, because me and Big Rainy was corresponding on Instagram, honey. We gonna have an old nasty show planned out for you guys, honey. It's gonna be good, honey, because Big Rainy is into some things, honey. He's into some things. True African spirituality was matriarchal until they were overthrown by black male ancestors, who then sold those female priestesses and their children into slavery. That's how black slavery began. It's a lot of shit that's happened. It's been 3 fucking hours. I didn't know we've been here for 3 hours, y'all. Oh my God. I let Kwame and Angela Stanton have us up here for 3. Girl, I didn't even know it was 3 hours. Oh my. How you still putting up food? How much food you made, Oz? Were you preparing the last damn supper? Still putting up food? Oh, you know, it's the 4th. Y'all probably grilled until there was nothing else left to damn grill. Probably cooked y'all shit, your neighbor's shit, they neighbor's shit, cooked everybody's shit today. I forgot it's the 4th. My God. Can you do a video on the fairy and dragon realm? Sure. I haven't did a metaphysical video, and I actually have the perfect person that I would love to bring into a discussion around fairies and dragons. Let me screenshot this comment so I can remember it, y'all, because people be asking me to talk about so much shit that I can't. Email it to me. I can't even screenshot it. Email it to me, Ayo. But I'm gonna try to remember. Yes, I can do that. In India, Haraj are feminine males whom are esteemed by their spiritual community. There was a show I did, Big Rainy, on a queerness in Africa pre-colonialism, and it was so inspiring and refreshing. There, just like in all of the ways in which it showed up, like there were female rulers in Africa who referred to themselves as kings, who had harems of men who presented like women and were called wives. I mean, and I was like getting my fucking life off of like all of this, like like I was just getting my whole life out of like, oh my God, like the way that femininity and masculinity is perceived in other parts of the world. It's just like, it's so good. It's so good. This fucking strong binary in the West is out of control. Like all of the gender bending and just looking at feminine and masculine as more of a spirit and more of an energy, more as states of awareness versus like aesthetic and coat and clothing per se, but just as like a virtue system. And anybody can possess both masculine and feminine. And everybody has their own capacity for masculine and feminine energy. Like there are women who have predominantly feminine energy. There's women who have masculine energy on various scales. Like some women's masculinity almost makes them another guy. Like we all know tomboys coming up, the girls who was roughhousing, playing, you know, climbing the trees with us, riding the bikes, getting dirty, playing in the boys' sports, roughhousing with us. She was one of the boys. And it also had nothing to do with sexuality. She still loved boys. What's that movie called? Love and Basketball. That was a perfect example of Tom girl who still like whose masculine energy was separate from her orientation. Same thing with guys. Like you have everybody from the Princes and the Michael Jacksons and the Lenny Kravitzes and the Maxwells, and you have all these like different ways of being, because everybody like I don't even like to even mention the damn Bible any damn more, but like the scriptures say, I made both male and female in my image. In my image, I made them male and female. We all are made in the image of this femininity and this masculinity. Even if you reduce it to the Bible in terms of informing you, it's even interesting how the Bible extrapolates the femininity from Adam instead of from the ground up. God takes a portion of Adam from out of him and actualizes it, like externalizes it in the form of Eve. He didn't pull Eve from somewhere out there. He didn't pull her from a separate part of the cosmos. Pulled femininity from right out of Adam and gave him a partner. He was experiencing his own likeness, gave him a partner made in his own likeness, because we're talking about two sides of the same fucking coin when we talk about masculinity and femininity. The West has an issue. I know, you know, maybe because I've been resting all day, Rainy. Yeah, I might have been resting all day because between that tattoo shop, and just tattooing is exhausting. I make it look easy, right? Because I got all this damn work on me, but it's exhausting mentally. You sit in one spot for hours, and then you're mentally controlling your pain responses, because as your body is being traumatized by way of the needle that's shredding the skin, your brain is communicating to you, abort, 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 abort. And so if you're getting, you know, if you have a session that's an hour or 2 or 3 long, every minute you're spending talking your body out of trauma, because your body is telling you that something invasive and injurious is happening, and is communicating it to your brain to stop whatever it is that is injuring the body. But you know that nothing dangerous is happening, so you have to like transcend the body's response to the tattooing, and sitting there doing that, counseling your body, combating your body until it's done. You will leave the tattoo parlor emotionally exhausted. Every time I leave a tattoo session, I am emotionally exhausted. So after last night, I was done. Like, I got home, I was so fucking over it, and I just slept all fucking day because it was a lot. You making me want more ink. Oh, baby, everybody should just get towed up, honey. The earth going to hell anyway, and nobody should be going to heaven without a tattoo. When God rapture you, you should be meeting up in the clouds with him tattooed, okay? Because according to Revelation, to the book of Revelation, he gonna have an old nasty piece of tattoo on the upper part of his thigh anyway. So he coming back in with a tattoo. We should be meeting up with him in the air with a tattoo, okay? I'm just trying to match Jesus. The first wife of Adam was Lilith. The first wife of Adam was made of the same stuff she sent. You talking about the myth of Lilith could be said to be the first feminist, okay? Created equal to Adam, created from the ground up like Adam. They would have tension in their relationship because Adam would want her to lay beneath him during intercourse, and Lilith would want Adam on the bottom rather than her on the bottom. And she would oftentimes just defy him and not always submit to his authority, because she was created equal to him and had the choice to submit to that authority or not. And so a lot of tension grew between them, to the point that, according to myth, Adam went to God basically for a fucking divorce, like something gotta give. And God sent an angel to counsel Lilith. Nothing ultimately changed. Lilith got so fucking frustrated with Adam, as Adam was getting frustrated with Lilith, because they were having irreconcilable differences, because they both were created equal. And so they both had the authority to oppose each other. And so she eventually called out the sacred name of God, the Tetragrammaton, Yud Hey Vav Hey, and she flew out into the heavens, entered the divine courts, and she wasn't supposed to be there. So an angel sent her back to earth, but instead of her returning to Eden with Adam, she was found at the Dead Sea in an orgy with fallen angels, and her falling into a lower nature turned her into some type of demonic being, and then she was said to be responsible for killing newborns as a revenge upon Adam and God and etc. And it's very fucking interesting. I know, right? Just be some of these pathologies are like hard fucking cool. It's like off the chain. I'd be like, oh my God, honey. Lilith said she ain't no damn bottom, honey, period. Honey. Adam was gonna get what he want regardless. Like, you wanted it missionary and Lilith just wanted to ride the dick. I mean, hell, that would have been better anyway, because she would have been doing all the goddamn work on the top, honey. Had you hit it missionary, girl, you was gonna have to work. You got to work that middle, baby. Okay? Like, Adam was gonna benefit whether he bust a nut in missionary or whether he bust a nut from getting his dick rolled. So I don't even know what the fuck all of the debacle was with her, which might just speak to the male condition of it doesn't matter whether I'm going to get what I want or not. It's literally about the authority itself and you needing to submit to me. And that was interesting, actually. Now that I think about it, that is very egotistical. So the redo was Eve. Eve apparently, allegedly, is the redo. So that's why God apparently took it out of Adam this time. But hell, she ain't do no fucking better. She helped to usher in sin into the damn world. So it was just like, nigga, you was fucked. Relationships don't work, okay? Everybody need to stay single and just have, you know, I'm starting to think companionship is what was meant for humans. All this marriage shit, monogamy shit, it would seem to me that what makes more sense is companionship. Hell, you don't see marriages in anywhere else in nature. You do see mammals having long-term relationships and what looks to be marriage, but for the most part, everything else in creation is loose and just shares itself with creation. Maybe humanity need to start entertaining companionship rather than all this fucking entanglement we get ourselves into. Sounds like rebellion to me. That's the philosophical age, honey. That's is it rebellion? If I got the authority to make a choice different from your desire, am I rebelling? Because I do have the authority to not submit. So maybe rebellion according to Adam, but maybe not rebellion as in rebellion. Mama Rainey's Mama Wata has that. I connected Mammy and Rainey together. Mammy Wata has that. The black female original Amazonian warriors saw their husbands as wives because they stayed behind and together. And that was reflected in so many cultures. Like, and I loved it. There was other instances. What else did I like? There's a group of male mystics in Africa who are revered as grandmothers to the community, even though they are biologically male. But they're referred to as the grandmothers. They refer to themselves as grandmothers. Like, all of this interesting stuff. And to me, what it teaches and reveals to us about it just teaches us the complexity and like the depth of masculine and feminine energies. and all the ways in which they just show up in us as human beings and our own personification and artistic expression of masculine and feminine forces, which we act like we understand by having strong binaries, but that we actually prove have much more depth than that when we lose sight of the binaries and we allow these forces to just be in our lives without trying to necessarily assimilate as it relates to gender, but more so just stay true to the way you experience those forces. And if you do, hell yeah, sometimes your artistic expression is going to look crazy. Sometimes you're just going to be a man in a damn dress, and the sign, the dress is a symbol of that divine feminine force. You know, like a lot of the aesthetic, like even for me, like a lot of my aesthetic is symbolic. Like it don't have nothing to do with fucking gay or straight, because I would look like this and dress like this and present like this even as a heterosexual person, because I would still be connected to my divine feminine irregardless of my sexuality. You know, Prince is a prime example of a man who identified as heterosexual, who obviously was also in touch with his divine feminine that was represented through his personal style, his sensitivities, his androgyny, any other androgynous male. And I remember, I think it was Barbara Streisand, whatever the fuck her name is. She was interviewing Michael Jackson years ago in an interview. And when Michael Jackson answered this question this way, I got chills, because it perfectly illustrated the way that I experienced my own divine feminine energy. She asked him about his androgyny, and she asked him, where does it come from? Where does your androgyny come from? And he said, I don't know. He said, it's something that became itself. It's something that has its own nature. And when he said that, I said, oh my God. Like, I felt chills throughout my body, because I'm like, that is my experience of my femininity. Is I don't have language for it. It's just something that just is. And you only have the option to be bold enough and courageous enough to express it in whatever way you conceptualize it. It may be aesthetic, it may be mannerisms, it may be in your thinking, it may be in whatever way. But I did not know why I wanted long hair. There was just something. And then then as I like entertained my femininity, I let it bleed out, I let it come into expression, I aligned with these visions I kept having in my head of this and of that. And then after putting it all together and coming to this point with myself aesthetically, I realized that all this shit is just a symbolic representation of my divine feminine. When I'm being high pitched and so-called queening it out, I'm expressing my divine feminine and expressing it with fluidity, without hesitation, with embrace, because it comes natural to me. I have days where I'm very fucking butch and very much so a domineering man. And people are shook and people move around when I'm in authoritative mode. I have days where I feel like a fucking woman and I just want a man to pick me up, and I allow a man to pick me up into his arms. And I'm just a whole lady in his arms. And there are days where I'm picking up my nigga like he's a woman. There are days where I feel like being on the bottom, like Eve. And then there are days where I feel like being on the top, like Lilith. Sometimes when I'm on the bottom, I'm still dominating, even as the bottom. And sometimes when I'm on the top, I'm submissive, even though I'm in the top position. And I've just got to a point in my life where I just stopped trying to make it make sense and just allowed the forces to just be what they are. And just to accept all of the function and all of the expression of the divine masculine and the divine feminine in me. I think that sometimes these concepts and labels, they stifle us when we don't even have to be true to the label, because the label isn't even doing the nature a true. I'm getting tired. That's why my brain's slowing down. Doesn't even do the nature true justice. You know, like sometimes I feel like I'm not fully expressing the capacity of my femininity, but it's just because I'm just running low on creative outlets to express that femininity. Like I'm already fucking men. I'm already a big softie. I'm already a big empath. I already wear 60-inch bundles. I already slapping on makeup. But there's like so much of that masculine and feminine energy that I don't think there's enough outlets in the world for me to feel complete. But I do know that I feel the healthiest by just letting myself be. I feel stagnated. I feel glitched up when I'm trying to be one over the other. I don't think that's natural for any human being. We have to get to a non-binary existence and just be, because once again, we're all made in the image of that divinity, which is represented itself in the lives of humanity through feminine and masculine forces. And so when a woman is prohibiting her masculinity, she's prohibiting the fullness of her divinity. When a man is prohibiting his femininity, he is prohibiting the totality of his divinity, because both forces are from the same singular divine phenomenon. They're just showing up creatively as the separate sexes, but they're not restricted to the sexes. Women have access to the divine masculine. Men have access to the divine feminine. And all the ways in which we show up sexually and in our gender identity is all the receipts and proof of the divine feminine and divine masculine at work in the earth. And the minute that we just start having a problem with that and realize that we're not even talking about people at this point, that when we're talking about sexuality and talking about gender, we're talking about something much more deep, something much more metaphysical, then we'll really be able to go to the next level in terms of reconstructing society and living in a more holistic, fluid reality. Maybe in the good old Eden days of Africa, where we celebrated these forces and built affirming cultures around all the ways in which human beings experience their own personal divinity and accommodate humans instead of rather resisting them and creating legislation to block two-spirited people and trans people, when we're really blocking the divine feminine and the divine masculine in expression. And because we are westernized and have prejudices because of patriarchies and that create binaries or matriarchies, like married to, is even more interesting that the same scriptures that say I made both male and female in my image, and then extrapolated femininity out of the male and externalized it to it, also talks about the symbolism of feminine and masculine represented in marriage. When male and female come together, the scripture said they become one in spirit. Because marriage is not about, it's not so much, the scriptures aren't even talking about male and female in terms of gender. They're using human concepts to illustrate spiritual things. Marriage representing one spirit when male and female come together. It's talking about consciousness, that you can't become complete and whole until you allow yourself to be in touch with both. And know ye not, know ye not that ye are God, male and female, beyond gender. Period. God, as long as you let yourself be, and are true to yourself. Period. I know ye. Oh, read that. Big Rainy says, hold on. God has given us all free will. Because God is being. God is being. In metaphysical circles, we say, class, what is God doing? And class answers, God is ising. God is a verb. God is active energy. God is. God is ising. God is ising through human beings. God has given us what it is because there isn't even a distinction between us and that which is God. We're always talking about things that are one and the same. Male and female, one and the same. God and man, one and the same. God and nature, one and the same. Our egos make us perceive reality as compartmentalized, like, because I'm a crumb from a cookie, I perceive myself as an individual when I am a part of a whole cookie and I am just as much of the whole cookie. I'm just as much of a cookie as a part of the whole, even as a crumb. And this is what Christ meant when the disciples asked him, can you show us God? And he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And guess what? Because you're a part of me, when they see you, they see me, who sees the Father, because there's no true line of demarcation other than perception. You perceive yourself as something separate from me, and you're not. But you perceive it that way because you stand as an individual crumb. But all the mystics have always known that we were a part of the whole, even though we perceived ourselves as individual pieces. And we're just as much of that which we think is beyond ourselves, that we are just as much of that. We're just experiencing ourselves. God is just experiencing itself as an individual through creation. That God is both the prey and the predator. God is both the light and the darkness. God is both the east and the west. God is both the male and the female. God is both the human and the being, the human and the spirit. That you can't even be separate from these things because they all exist within one thing. Just like a raindrop returning to the ocean, a singular raindrop merging itself back into the whole. But that single point of rain, that single point of water is just as much of water as the entire ocean is. It's the same water, just individualized as a snowflake or individualized as a droplet. But just as much as water as all that water is in the pool. Same water. Just capable of a separate awareness, but still one whole thing. And that's really beautiful. And deepening our association to that is going to make us great. Not continuing to be more allegiant to individuality than we are to the thing that transcends the human experience, which is the spiritual mind and the spiritual nature. The yin and the yang, God is. Labels are constructs. Yeah, the social constructs, human ebb and flow, just at the tides of the sea. Absolutely. The God in me is going to bed. Me too. I'm out of here, y'all. This was great. This was awesome. Angela Stankin, shut the hell up. Find the God in you. Kwame, you're doing a good job of giving me content because you bring these interesting folk to your platform. And as long as you're bringing them to this platform, I am going to be talking about the shit that they say, because these people are wide damn open. And yeah, everybody stay blessed, stay young. Young is the mindset. And don't take life too seriously. Laugh, enjoy. It's okay. It's all right. It'll all be over in one way or another. Yeah, stay blessed. On that note, good goddamn.